pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have an agenda, we have minutes for February 12th, March 27th, president's remarks, general manager's report, special presentation on sections 2 and 3 drainage recommendations, Dan Satursky, advisory committee evaluation report, Sharon O'Hare, elections committee report, Dan Satursky, calendar of the election, marine activities advisory committee report, Dan Satursky, roster of members attached, public comment, old business discussion of OPA bid and contract practices, Mark Clark, second reading of motion to approve revisions of MO6, elections committee, second reading of motion to approve revisions to CO7, comprehensive plan committee, new business motion to investigate ways and means of monetizing the OPA built ramps, Marty Clark, CPI action, Bob Thompson, a whole long list of appointments to advisory committees, media questions, adjournment. Do I have any changes or adjustments to the agenda proposed?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
On the appointments, long list. Paperwork for Mr. Silverman is not complete, so please scratch his name from that list.
Okay.
And we had 2 people added to the list, both from the Tennis Advisory Committee, Mr. Paul Lusko, RUSKO, and Cynthia DeNichols, CONTHIA, capital D, lowercase I, capital NICHOLS.
Okay. Any other changes or adjustments? I have a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Approved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, moving on to the minutes. February 12th. Changes or adjustments to the minutes from the February 12th. If not, I'll have a motion to accept.
Move to accept.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? March 27th, 3 o'clock meeting.
Here.
Is this not,
It's on.
it's on?
Might have slide.
Sorry about that. All right,
Can't hear it now?
hold on. Can you hear now?
S 1, 2, 3.
Are we good? I've got heads going yes and no out there.
Clear direction.
Okay, I'll talk a little louder. How's that? Does that work? Okay.
All yes.
I had no idea I was so silent in life until I got this job. Okay, I will speak up, sorry. March 27th, minutes from that meeting. Any changes or adjustments?
Motion accepted.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Please. I have no remarks at this point to bring to the table. I'll turn that over to Bob Thompson for your general manager's report.
I hope you all have a copy right in front of you. Sorry, back-to-back meetings, I didn't plug mine in yet. Mr. Fang, I believe this one's yours. Yeah, actually.
You're gonna let the youth say.
Sir, yes, sir. Absolutely. All right, while this loads up, I'll cover a couple of things in the first slides. Golf,
This is the first thing I want to cover. We didn't have any real fancy slides on it. I just wanted to give a brief update. Golf is actually, the course is finished. The drainage on 11 and 12 are complete. The greens are complete. The only thing we have not finished is Hingham Lane, where part of that is tied up. We had to make some alterations with the piping based on some additional water lines we found, so it had to go back through some permitting process. So that's where we are on that. But the upside with golf, with the fairways complete, the greens complete, everything's going to be open May 1st. The greens are coming in well, even the brand new greens. I went out with the superintendent a week and a half ago, and he pulled up some of the new greens, and the root growth is 4 or 5 inches longer than we expected. Things are working out very, very well. Outside rounds or package play that's coming in from the Golf Getaway, Pam's, and those are all up. So we're having good responses on that, and our price per round's higher than last year. So it looks like we're going to start the year strong. Yes, sir.
How compared to what?
Compared to last year. If you remember, May we weren't open. So we bought, with anything we book in May's ahead, but June's ahead of last year's June number-wise. And then the price per round is about 50% higher than it was last year for the same time in June. So very, very positive outlook to start the season. Okay, the next thing I just want to go over with you. Each month, and I've done it the last 2 months, we're going to talk about the projects underway, i.e. the yacht club, the marina, and the pools. This is the process.
You had 2 other comments on golf on your slide.
Oh, I'm sorry. On golf, 2 other things. One in May, thank you. Billy Casper will be attending again. I mentioned it last month, but will be attending a day here with us. In June, they're having a pro-am, and that's the professional golfers from the region are being invited to come play at our course, and that's the third weekend of June. So we're real excited about that. We're getting a lot of positive feedback on that. The other thing, I was talking to John a couple hours ago. The Billy Casper Network sent out 22,000 invites to their network in the region. Rediscover Ocean Pine, all part of the Rediscover Ocean Pines process we're pushing with all the work we've had done. So there's a lot of marketing aimed out, networking through the Billy Casper, as well as the golf outlets and all the other things. And I think that's why we're starting to see the results so quickly.
Okay, is there, Bob, do you have any pro-am means that some amateurs are going to get lucky, get selected to go play with some pros? Do you have any idea of how they're going to work that yet?
No, John's still working the details. Obviously, we're going to start with our membership.
Yeah. I would assume you start with lifetime members and work your way out.
Yes. And then one thing he was talking about is if the professional from whatever course they're coming were to bring a guest of theirs, again, we're trying to get exposure, that would be 2 of our members with that potential pro-am guest.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, back to the process. I'll be giving updates every month, and I just want to make sure. I had a little bit of feedback question of how the updates are coming to you at the board meetings. So I thought just inquire to the board, give you the process we're currently working through so you understand what's happening and not just wait to the board meeting to understand all the other people involved in it. And then also ask you a question about it. First is, we have weekly meetings with the construction team on site. When I say we, it's our facility manager and head of public works meet with the head of Parkins, the foreman on the job, and they do a walkthrough and an update on the projects underway down at the yacht club, the marina, and the pool. From there, I'll usually get an update either from Eddie and Jerry or both. I also get updates from the county periodically on the status of our reports, where we are from the permitting process, just as a follow-up. From there, I gather it all, and then I just bring the information to you at the board meetings. So it's not me managing the projects individually. There's a team of us, and if you remember, that was part of the reason getting the new facility manager in place prior to the construction starting, so we had someone that can watch day to day. That weekly meeting that they have is just to give an update on everything happening. Either Jerry or Eddie are down there pretty much daily or every other day as things are occurring. Do I have a question about that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Board updates, when you get to the board at the end of the month, are going to come in what form? Am I going to see target dates versus where we are? Am I going to see something like a Gantt chart or a flow chart that shows the project and where we are?
Well, today I can give to you any way you guys want to see it. What I'm sharing with you right now is just an update, the last update I had from the county. These are what I receive periodically, so you can see what we're tracking from the construction process. When I get to the next couple of slides, you're going to see not only a narrative of the update, which is in the report that was handed out to you, but you're also going to see a timeline that's built in.
Okay, well, Bill Rakow was good enough several months ago to put this together. And because my last name is Stikursky, I really understood this. And it would be really nice to be able to get the report in this form with little lines on there saying, here's where we are now, and we're not where we're supposed to be, or we're ahead of where we're supposed to be, and here's why. You asked for comments from the board.
Yeah.
If there's a comment. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. We can certainly give you that chart, and we can update it for each board meeting and give it to you, if that's helpful.
Very helpful.
Okay. All right, let's talk. I'm going to break down the three different components right now and kind of give you where we are with it. Let's start. The existing pool, if you haven't noticed, is gone. All the materials are gone. The concrete's gone. Everything's been moved out. The new dirt's been put in and compacted. That's all finished. The layout and reference points for where the new pool's going in, which, as you know, is where the existing pool was. So that's all completed. The permit's been submitted for the proper approvals with the state. As soon as that gets returned back to us is when you'll start to see the excavation of the current compacted soil that's there. You'll start to see the framing go in, the pouring of the concrete, and then all the steps necessary to get the pool up and running. They have materials, they're poised and ready to go. We just have to get the final approval from the state to get to that level.
When do you anticipate that?
It was submitted the 1st of April. There are a day or two on one side or the other of that. And it could take 30 days for an approval. It could be sooner. We're hoping, because we're replacing matching existing, that we're not going to have too much problem through that process. Again,
so if we don't get a permit until May 1st, we don't start construction until May 2nd or thereabouts on the pool.
Correct. We will not have a permit by May 1st would be my guess. It'll probably be that week is what we're guessing. Yes, sir.
At the January 23rd meeting, when we got this chart, I mean, we were told, basically, if we didn't approve this, we're going to cause costly delays. This chart shows that the pool's installed now, 3/31. It's done, I mean, except for finishes. What was the delay in the permit?
Well, first we had to get ratified contracts. I can't submit for approval until I get a ratified contract.
That's why
So
we were
had.
forced to vote on a...
I'm going to give you the updated timeline. You're looking at a material that wasn't updated based on board action. I will update that material that you have in your hand per Mr. Sikorsky's request at the next meeting. I'll use the Gantt chart.
This was given to us on the 23rd,
Of what month, sir?
January,
Correct.
and we voted on the 24th
Okay,
On
if
a
you allow me to get to the
sole
time.
source contract,
All right,
because
I'll help you.
if we didn't, we wouldn't be able to keep this schedule. My question is simple.
Get that schedule.
Well, I tell you, go back and watch the video, you'll be embarrassed.
I won't be.
Should be, go ahead.
All right, well, again, then I'm going to back up and keep on my schedule because I'm not going to argue the fact. I need board action before I can move forward. Here are the steps on the pool. This is where we are now on the pool. The next thing, now this one is, I've had some nice inquiries about this recently. In a face-to-face one today in the lobby, someone was extremely agitated at where we are with the marina. Everyone needs to understand we can't move. I can't take any action until we get approval. I couldn't get approval until I get contracts signed. I mean, there's a process. We actually have, we're running parallel right now. We're trying to accomplish two things. We've submitted for approval for the new tanks. When I say submitted, at the state level, at the county level, to get the new tanks approved with the new site. We have preliminary approval in some of the areas, but we still need the state to put the final stamp on it. In the meantime, we're working on our existing tanks currently work, but where they killed the power for that whole area, when they're realigning the pool and we're rearranging the lighting, if you remember, our yacht club lights were out for a little while. There's a lot of work going on there. We had a lot of lines when they started to break down. Once we got to go and they started to work, we had a lot of lines that crossed. There were a lot of different things happening. Lines went from one corner of the yacht club to the pool, from the bar area, the tiki bar outside, across the pool to the pump house. There was a lot of mix match on lines. Part of the new project is we're setting 3 different pedestals to completely separate the marina, the yacht club facility, and the pool. It's going to allow us, and I mentioned that in one of our last meetings, it's going to allow us to manage the facilities more efficiently because we'll be able to track expenses at each. And it's also going to allow us to utilize those appropriately depending on the time of year, obviously. In doing so, when you kill the power to it all and rearranging the power lines, new pedestals are being set by Chop Tank. Part of Chop Tank resetting the pedestals, I don't mean to go too deep, but just so everybody understands what's happening. We then also have to, it's East Coast, and forgive me for the last name, it might be East Coast Boring or East Coast Company, partners with Chop Tank to do some boring where instead of just tearing up the ground, they actually bore under for some of the main lines. So there's a meeting tomorrow to discuss how quickly all those can happen. Harkins works with Tomy Electric. They're running the final patched lines once the main lines from Chop Tank have been put in. So all these are being coordinated right now. Next couple weeks, that should be completed. Chop Tank's already got the materials. They have 3 pedestals. I talked to the engineer from Chop Tank yesterday, the regional engineer, just to validate where we were. He agreed everything appears to be falling in place there. The only one I haven't personally spoken to, and at the meeting tomorrow, would be the East Coast folks with the core drilling to run the additional lines. Yes.
I just want to clarify. What you're saying, these lines to be run, are they for the temporary existing tanks, or they're going to be used for both?
They're going to be for both. Keep in mind, we killed the power to everything on that area. The marina building's gone. The lines from that area are gone or have been broken down. So now we have to readdress those and line them up the way we're supposed to, or the way that the new plans
And they
call
will be
for.
able to service the existing fuel tanks
Are
until we get the approval from the state
correct.
for the new tanks.
Correct. Now, there's no guarantee the state will allow us to do it that way. All bets are off when it gets to state. It's what they decide they want us to do or will allow us to do. Our existing tanks and the piping are all intact. We didn't have any issues with them. The other thing that we're looking at, when you start to do work, there's certain thresholds where you have to complete more or less work based on the amount of piping that needs to be disturbed. Well, because the disturbance for our piping is underground, not the above ground, it changes the rules, actually favorably for us. But it's really going to be an interpretation on the state to find out what they'll allow us to do or not. It's our intent to do parallel operation right now. Keep the existing, as soon as we get power to the existing tanks, we'll only top off one of them so we can go ahead and start using fuel. We already have the unit that's been moved out next to Mumford's Landing pool, the temporary trailer for the marina folks. They've set up, we've got power to it, we have phones to it, all that's ready to go. Our goal is to operate both until we can move the tanks. When we do, it's a 2-day move, assuming no problem. But Where we are now with the new pads been cleared, trunks of the trees have been pulled out. They were supposed to be pouring. Do you know if they poured?
They start.
Yeah, they were pouring this afternoon, so that's occurring. And then once we have approvals, when we can actually coordinate the move, not we, Parkins coordinate the move of the tank, and they're using third-party Jones and Frank to do so. It's a company that works with Marina fuel and those type of things.
How do we notify our voting public that there is no fuel available at this point and when there will be fuel?
Well, I can't tell you when there will be yet because it's depending on what Maryland will allow us to do with the piping.
Sure, but when we find out, okay, we'll be open next,
We're open. The marina can be open to dock your boats as of May 1st per the contract.
okay.
Shouldn't be any issue with that. We're still not sure on the fuel. We should know a lot more tomorrow. Once we know, we'll post it at the marina, we'll post it at the yacht club, we'll put it on the website. We'll do all the normal things we do to get the information out. I just can't get,
To do a public news release because there's so many people who use the gas who do not live in Ocean Ponds. They come over and fuel up. Okay,
Sure.
good.
Marty?
Would you let the board know by direct email too? I mean, I sometimes don't read those.
happy to do it.
Yeah, I lost you a little bit, though, just in my mind. Use of the old tank is a temporary measure, okay? But that would get gas to the people who need it most quickly, okay? And that
Correct.
has nothing to do with Maryland or anything like that. That has to do with the power and chop tanking.
Well, no, because we've already applied application for construction at the site.
Yeah.
We do need to get approval to pretty much be working on the new tank structure, not the tank itself, but the structure where it's going to be housed, the platform, the new piping, which will be parallel to it. We'll have to get that approval and have our current tank operational. They have to approve that step. We believe they will, but again, when you go up for state approval, it's whatever the state's going to approve for us.
So the truth is,
We don't know.
we don't know what gas will be available.
Correct.
And there is no temporary alternative. I mean, we can't run a gas tank truck down there and run pipes from that.
There is potentially a temporary alternative. The thought, though, is if we're not allowed to operate our existing tanks because they're in good condition, everything's working, we don't have any problem with, they're probably not going to allow us to put a truck there to do the temporary. Now, doesn't mean we won't look at. That was one of the three options we were looking at. First was get the tanks moved in time, get it fueled up, and be ready by May 15th. Again, because we have to wait for the state to give their final approval. Once they do and the county stamps it, and the county won't stamp it till the state does, I don't see any hold up with the county. We're working pretty close with them. Once that occurs, it should be a pretty quick turn. It's just a matter of when we get the timing in. So we're going to try to do simultaneous to get our voters fueled.
Do you feel that you have sufficient support at the state level right now from our elected representatives and everybody else to make this move?
We do right now, but I'm always looking to get more support. So if anybody wants to assist,
People are going to have to understand, we have a major construction project for the next 12 months going on down there, and if they get delayed in getting fuel, there are other places. Marty, is the marina next door, do they have fuel?
no.
I didn't think so. They're going to have to go across the bay, but there are plenty of places to get fuel, even though it's going to be inconvenient.
Bahia Marina
Yeah.
and Sunset, I
Right.
believe, both had non-ethanol last summer.
Yep, they started.
No, just to make sure we're all clear, this is falling into next year's budget, and next year's budget has revenues from marina gas sales in it to the tune of a nice number. Is it $200,000 or something around that?
I'm not going to say 177 exactly, but
I'll round it up to 200. We have a lot of risk here
Yeah.
of getting this done and in place, and the realities are we need these approved. I think the process is there. At this point, it's a matter of, as I understand it, getting the state to get to it at this point. Correct? I mean, there's a lot of things going on.
yeah, I can't speak for the state.
Can't
I don't want to
speak
make a
for the
mistake
state.
and do so.
I'd like to see that signature. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, ongoing yacht club activities, and just one of the things I want to make sure I pointed out, the schedule that we're going to be working from It's a 12-month schedule from, per the contract, okay? We were trying to start it early January, but until we execute the contract, start the approvals, and it's right in the contract how we do it. So what we've done is built the schedule around 12 months from the March timeframe. Now, it's the intent in talking with Harkins, talking with their team on the ground, talking with their Don, which you guys have all met. They're still trying to accelerate to get us in that Christmas timeframe. They feel comfortable that they can do that, but permitting, these type of things are out of everyone's control. We need to make sure those things are accomplished. So we're working through that process. This is right off of their construction schedule. You notice the bottom delivery date's March. The goal is to have it by January, but again, there are a lot of what-ifs when you're doing a construction process.
I don't see demolition in there anywhere. I'm assuming this is starting after Labor Day. This is a one-week process of
No, the building's already, they're already marking, if you haven't been down there, they're marking
No, I'm talking about demolition of the existing yacht club.
That's not till intercept.
after Labor Day.
Right, is that I'm sorry, I'm not being clear. Is that a week-long process? Is that a month to take to tear down? the
Couple
building?
weeks.
Okay. It's not on here anywhere, that's what I was just
Okay.
asking. Okay.
Yeah, we didn't list, there's actually 3 pages of small print of everything they're doing. So we just put the highlights on there,
Got it.
just give an overview.
It actually is on the schedule.
Yeah.
On the first chart, it's on there, it's demolition 9/7 to 10/7. My question is, if we're already, according to this, not me, I mean, we're at least a month and a half behind schedule.
We're not behind schedule, we're on schedule from when the
I'm sorry?
contract was executed. That was created before we executed the contract,
I'm talking about this, okay?
okay?
Now, you're gonna update this, but it won't be but for 30 days. I gotta operate for the next 30 days. This tells me we're at least a month and a half behind schedule. Is that correct or not?
Inaccurate. We're not behind schedule, we're on schedule based on the execution of the contract.
Okay, let me try to be more clear. For
I'm
this
clear.
schedule,
Yes.
we're a month and a half behind this schedule. Now, you're gonna throw this out and we'll have a new schedule, be right on schedule. Based on this, you don't gonna stand here now and tell us there's a hope this building will be open for New Year's.
I am telling you, not only is there a hope, I believe it's possible. How's that? Can't be clear.
I got
I'm
it,
not
I
trying to
got
be
it
smart.
right.
They're telling me they can do this once we get started. If they don't, they don't. We're not hurt by it.
Who's telling you this?
The contractor.
Better
Look,
tell-
I
you better
have
tell me
tru-
use the same story on the street.
Again.
We could spend a long time speculating on whether or not we'll make January or not. Reality is,
I'm not
that's an
speculating.
objective.
Shut.
If it's not met, it's not met. As far as that chart that was put together that I keep looking at, everybody looks at, that was put together as part of the ongoing discussion of who we're gonna pick to build the building, how we're gonna vote, get the contract done. The contract was actually signed with Harkin in late February, is when the contract was finally done.
Yes, sir.
So until that contract is signed, there's nothing that can be applied for with the county, the state, or anybody else. Nobody's going to move very far without a contract in place.
Correct. We were ahead with the engineering because we'd already started some of that. Remember, we separated
We've done some
contracts.
pre-work,
We
I
did
know
some
that.
engineering work.
Now, but the reality is, both sides of what appears to be a misalignment are correct. That original Gantt chart showed a different start date of when the contract was done and when things would get going. The reality is, the contract got signed around the end of February.
Correct.
But they stayed consistent with their contract bid, which was 12 months from the execution
Correct.
of the
Yes, sir.
contract to completion
Correct.
of the building.
Yes, sir. So I'm working
So
on
that's why
facts.
both sides are right. When one says we're behind, well, that was the Gantt chart that was presented in the whole debate and the discussion. The reality is the contracts got done third week of February, and that's when the engine started on the car to get this thing done. So let's not argue whether the Gantt chart's late or not. The reality is you're going to update it, and that's where we are. Fair enough? Okay.
I don't know when this all comes together, but you say, you talk about it'll be ready for New Year's.
Can't hear you, Dave.
Maybe,
I'm sorry, it'll be ready for New Year's, man. I mean,
maybe.
I'm looking at the projected timeline, and at the end of the pointing arrow, it says 3/15. 3/14, which happens to be my birthday, Joe, so it would be a nice touch.
That's birthday present.
You could do that.
That's our backup plan, your birthday. All right, we'll mark that one.
That's okay.
That's it, put it in the papers, we're having a big birthday party for Dave Stevens on 3/14.
And if it's ready on 3/14, maybe I'll even throw the party.
There you go.
The,
You don't get that?
That's on.
Write that one down.
It's on tape. We're all set.
but I guess what bothers me is to say, well, maybe it'll be ready on New Year's, and maybe it'll be ready on 3/14. But there's an awful lot of things. I mean, that's a very long time. Let's say 3/14, not to have any food and beverage service at all. I mean, from the time you tear down the existing club and then start tearing it down, we're not going to be serving out, and when half the buildings come down or anything like that.
Correct.
So that's a very long time without any food and beverage service. I mean, I haven't seen anybody talk about or what were the plans. What's going to happen to our staff? Where are we going to go? Are we going to keep paying them? I mean, are we going to?
I thought we kind of set the path this year when we shut our staff down.
We didn't shut it down all the way. We've had losses continuously every month.
But if you notice, they're significantly different than years past. We cut down to bare bones. You can't get rid of your manager to your.
They're not so different from years past, Bob. I mean, you have to just pick your year. I mean, they could pick the year before, which was horrible. Yeah, and it's not so different than that. But any reasonable years in which we've only had limited operations. I'd like to see. I'm not trying to pick at anything. I just want to know what is it that we're going to do and what do we expect. I mean, Lord Tom's already mentioned that one part of our budget is kind of, gone. And
Could be gone, depending.
could be gone depending, But because you get to the part where the depending part is, the more likely it is it's gone. And I would like to know what is going to happen to the rest of this budget for this year. And this is different than when we made the budget. We had higher hopes.
Well, wait a minute. If you recall, when we created the budget, we debated at length about opening weekends, opening 4 days a week, opening 7 days a week. We went through great detail with that through the budget process. We agreed to stick with what originally was submitted, which we were doing a much more scaled down through the closing of the yacht club through January, February, March. It was our goal. It was a lot talk during the budget process of being open as of January. Whenever we opened the doors in January, being open and doing a 4-day week because people were going to be excited and want to come to the club. Ultimately, the decision was to leave the original budget intact, and we had only budgeted for specific weekends for events. So it really shouldn't have a significant impact because we stuck with the original one where we really didn't put a lot of business during that January, February, March time frame.
Okay, so the question on the table, for the next meeting that we come together on, let's just reiterate or share with us what the plan is for food service. If in fact it does take till March, till Dave's birthday, just what we may or may not, including what
We're
was
gonna
done
stick
this
to the
year, the
budget.
country club, all that. Let's just answer that question at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
And we'll also update the Gantt chart,
Please do.
the long one with the updated information. Okay, talk about a couple things, other topics. Want to talk about Section 3. We have talked about the county had done some work for us for Ocean Pines over in the River Run area. And last month I stated that I thought some of that, as much as we appreciate the work, that wasn't the final solution for the Section 3 drainage issues that folks have had for 20 years.
Bob, before we move to this particular one, if you don't mind, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Reiterate again, when and what is the expectation of when we're going to get updates on what's going on with the yacht club construction? What is your expectation of what you're going to deliver, and we understand what that is? I'd just like to hear that again as to when and what we're going to get.
Expectation is to continue following our current process. Once a month, I'll give you an update in the board meetings, unless there's a significant change somewhere. Something big comes up, there's a catastrophe or something, that'll be the process that we'll use. Now, things like the marina being open or the pool being open, and if they're falling in between board meetings, you'll certainly know, hey, within a week we're going to open the marina, or we're going to, if we have a change, once we know more in the next 30 days what's going on with the marina, I'll send you guys an update on that one, guys and gals.
Okay. Everybody okay with that?
Well, I think the issue there, Bob, and as you're well aware, is that we are, as you are, getting a lot of questions from voters, for example, on fuel, from people who are thinking about scheduling functions at the yacht club because there's a new yacht club coming and there's a lot of interest there apparently. And it just helps to be able to answer those questions as honestly as possible. Just say, don't plan on that because we don't think it's going to be there, or plan on that because it's going to make it. It really does. In a construction project, I'm extremely aware that it's very difficult to say on Monday you're going to be done. You may not be done until Monday 2 months from now, but unless something disastrous happens, at least we can give people a window, which is what this is all about. We need to know as a group what those windows are. Frankly, to keep your phone from going off the hook quite as much as it is, we can cut some of that off.
That'd be nice.
We need to know.
Well, here
You remember the two rules we talked about,
I understand.
Right? Okay.
I understand. The one thing that I think is going to be helpful, separate topic, but it's going to assist with this, is with our new website design, one of the things we're going to have is a dedicated section for the construction portion of it, where we'll do updates, we'll do pictures, we'll kind of, so folks can follow along with the process as we're going through it. And that should be extremely helpful for getting the information out.
Teresa's already been doing that, and I think that's helpful. People see the pictures of the pool going away and
Yes.
all that stuff. That's been very good.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure we were completely level set on what our expectations were.
Sure.
What you're doing. Okay.
Again, back to Section 3. As we said, we appreciate the work that was done on the River Run. It was years in the making. I appreciate Commissioner Bunning's effort there that really got us moving on that project. However, it's one step, and what I believe to be a multi-step solution. With that being said, I know there's some disagreement at the board level that we don't need to take the next step, or that this pretty much solved the problem. I'm going to tell you the steps. I'm continuing on unless redirected by the board. Okay, as I said last month, I'm going to continue my actions unless the majority of the vote says not to. First thing, I had Jerry working on a chronology of what's occurred to date for the drainage. Getting us all on the same page of all the work over the years that's been accomplished, I think is critical so we understand the reports, the surveys, the engineering studies, so that I've handed that out to you. They're the things that have occurred that impact the drainage here. Next thing, and I believe Mr. Claggett's here to give a presentation, which is interesting because, believe it or not, they were completely separate. I got a copy of his as I walked over preparing between our last meeting. It goes right into why I believe what we're doing is right. That backs it up, and we did not coordinate that effort. Did we, sir?
No, we didn't.
I didn't even know they were presenting, so it's a great layup here for what they'll present behind me. But Jerry met with Mr. Claggett, Mr. Roeder. They walked it, got a lot of definition of some of the concerns that they had with some piping and some kind of immediate things that we could do, clearing the ditches and some other things, but we still don't believe I don't believe that's a long-term solution for that area. So, things that we're currently doing, Jerry we've been talking with several engineering firms about a lot of different projects. This particular one, he met with DBF out of Salisbury. We've had a couple meetings with them looking at what types of things as an engineering firm they can bring to the table as a comparison to what we're currently using. They did the walkthrough. Jerry actually walked with them, showed them some of the concerns that our residents have pointed out, showed them where some of the new work was, and they're working on a plan to tell us how we might tackle these issues. Jerry requested from them kind of a step-by-step what they believe we could do and increments to improve the drainage out there. They're going to do that, and then we'll put a proposal together to figure out what our next step may be and what the cost would be associated with. Yes, sir.
Why did we go to another engineer rather than Sule, who's already had their boots on the ground with us? And who's done most of our work for the last 5 years?
Again, we're trying, we have a drainage problem in this particular section that's been in place for 20 plus years. It's my feeling, not that Steve Soule is doing a bad job for us, I want another set of eyes on it to give me an alternative or another professional set of understanding of what we actually have. So we're just exploring the possibilities at looking at some other options. Getting fresh eyes on it, I thought was important because we've obviously not solved this in so many years.
Not that it's important because we have to do it, but do we have some kind of cost estimate for this?
For what?
For this engineering firm to,
They haven't. They're going to put together a proposal for us for the steps of doing it. And I'm going to show you something in a little while on the bridges where they've been very helpful for us, and they've broken down what their engineering report would be, what their cost to help us with the RFP would be, and what their cost to follow the construction process would be. We're going to get a similar thing from them on this project. We enjoyed what we got from them on the bridges. We got some clarity on some things we've been struggling to get from some other folks. So we said, hey, what would you, if you looked at this, tell us what it would cost us to engage with you to look at this and offer some alternative solutions.
So as of now, have we committed to spend any money with these people?
Okay, no money.
We're going to use their input for RFP.
Right.
Could you repeat that, because I couldn't hear?
Yeah, we're going to do the same thing, and when we get to the bridges, I'm going to explain it.
Okay.
We're going to use their input to create the RFP when we go out to bid, if we like their input. We're not sure we're going to yet. We're going to get their preliminary results. We don't know if we're going out to RFP. We have to take baby steps in this process. It didn't build overnight. It's not going to be fixed overnight. So we've got to take small incremental steps and keep you informed each step of the way.
So they're working for free right now, in the expectation of
They're
getting
going.
what?
I would have to guess, since we're a large community, they're hoping to get ongoing business with us. We did Jerry and I had a preliminary meeting with them where we discussed what type of engineering options they have, what's the depth of their company, what other organizations in our area do they work with. We're just exploring other options right now.
Yeah.
Haven't committed to anything.
You know, we did have a competitive bid several years ago. I don't believe they were one of the bidders in which Soleil was.
I didn't see them on it. And the
I'm pretty sure there's only three, and I can't remember. Maybe Bill Rayco can remember who the other two were. But one was a Salisbury firm, and the other was Baltimore. And but I mean, I only was bringing that out because I mean, you know, are you talking about going out for rebids?
Don't know yet. I'm just getting a new set of eyes. I'm just updating you all on some of the things we're looking at right now.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with going out for a rebid.
Yeah, I don't know yet, though. I mean, I'd love to say yes, we are, or we're not. We're just not there yet. This is more exploratory. The problem's been ongoing for so long. We're just trying to get some new faces, new eyes looking at it, go, hey, have you considered this or that? And then from there, we'll say it's worth going the next step with them or it's not.
Well, this is kind of,
Okay?
informational for us to know what's going on. No action required on our part at this point at all.
I'm just trying to keep you updated on what we're working on.
And they're located in Salisbury. So
What's that?
they're located in Salisbury,
They are.
so they're local. Okay.
They are. Okay, now this is where we'll get a little more clarity on the type of work proposals they can do. Bridges, you know that we've had bridge reports. We've had things that we're working on with the bridges. Here's some updates. We talked about last month where when we do the work on the bridges, we're going to see that the pipes that are on top of the bridges are no longer visible and on top of the bridges. They'll be put under. We've met with, when I say me, it doesn't necessarily mean, but when I say we, it's not me necessarily, someone in the association, in this case it's been Jerry. our facilities manager, met with 2 different contractors looking at the bridges. If you recall, we've gotten several engineering studies from the county. The county actually has them conducted. However, getting clarity on the work to cure has been very difficult through those firms. We've even tried to reach out through the county, who actually hired the firm. We still can't get clarity. We're not getting the information. So we said, okay, we're not getting it there. Let's go a different route. So we've engaged with 2 other engineering firms to get some input from them. Again, a lot of these things, folks, we've done in the past, so we're just laying it on top, getting the overlay to say, okay, what do we think is the right strategy moving forward? So these have occurred in the last month. Walk around, look at the bridges, look at the engineering reports that we have that were provided by the county. Here's what our strategy.
Bob,
Yes.
before you leave your previous slide, bond will be sponsored by Worcester County.
Mhm.
Once the bond is out there, he gets to pay for it.
We do.
That's what
I said it last month. I'm saying it again this month. That's why
I just
put it in.
wanted to make sure, that's all.
Yeah. And cost to roads, bridges, anything. It's a pass-through. Water, anything we do, there's a pass-through to it.
I have a stupid question.
No stupid question.
Under, the utilities are being put under the bridge there.
Our goal is to have them put under the bridge.
How much space is that going to take?
That'll be under the canal, won't it?
Well, it's saying under the bridges.
Okay, it's under the surface of the bridge. It could be, some of it's going to be under the water, some, depending on what it is. That's what the engineer is going to.
Well, I know just title effect, sometimes those have trouble getting under. Are we losing it in 12
We-
inches? I mean, it
We
might make it better for some voters, that's what I'm asking.
we would not, and put it this way, they'll be strongly considered before we make any final recommendation.
That's just a concern.
Yeah, we recognize we don't want to lower the height to
Some of
get
those
under.
have problems now, so.
Yeah. The strategy that we're working towards employing, once we're getting all the pieces together, engineering specifications and drawings, this is the process we'd like to use to cure the bridge, take care of the deficiencies on the bridge that have been noted. We liked working with DBF, their strategy, the strategy they said that they thought we ought to use to cure, we agreed with. Basically, they'll do the engineering drawings for us, being very, very clear on what specifically needs to be addressed on those bridges to bring them up to date, secure them, fix any of the failing issues that have been identified. From there, they would assist us preparing the RFP and reviewing the bids that come in from the contractors to do the work. So we make sure we have our engineer involved with us in that process. Once the once the project's awarded to a contractor to do the repairs, they would work hand in hand with us to monitor the work to make sure it is being completed per the engineering specs. So pretty much, they walk with us from the beginning to the end of the project, from the time we start the engineering part of the bridges to the time we get them fixed, to whatever level they're required to be fixed to.
Do any of these engineering companies that are potentially going to end up being selected, which I'm assuming we have to select them and approve them and get a contract with them, do they have construction arms as well, or are they pure engineering companies?
Depends on the company.
Depends on-
Most are focused on the engineering part, but I mean, you could get an engineering company that has construction arm to it. I don't believe DBF or either of them have construction. Yeah, the 2 we're talking to don't
You're
have
not
construction.
okay.
No.
So we don't have that conflict.
I would not put that before you if I thought there was.
Who does the engineering for the county in their bridges?
You have the reports. I don't have it all the time. You do because you came to my office for
I
it.
came in and looked at them. I didn't.
Yeah, I'll get it for you.
I'm just wondering,
Yeah, I don't know. We have it. We have the reports.
help me through this a second, because here's
Yeah.
how I understood it. I understood we're responsible for the maintenance.
Correct.
Major repair or replacement, the county handled, and we paid 20, they paid 80.
Replacement. If you remember, we covered this a few months in great detail at a board meeting, and I'll go back and pull those notes where it broke down exactly what we covered. One of the first tasks I had Jerry address when he came on.
Okay, I'm old, I forgot.
No, that's fine. I'm not gonna tell you something and miss a step. I will be happy to go back and pull that out and provide it to you. 80/20 is correct, but we take care of all major maintenance.
Right. The
What's been
maintenance that
identified,
I saw in that report,
we're required to cover.
it didn't require any major engineering. I mean, it was some guardrails, light bulbs. This move in the utilities is gonna be done by the utility companies, I'm assuming.
Correct?
Okay.
No, I understand the confusion, because Dan asked a question a couple minutes ago, who's paying for this? And the answer was, we are, and I had the same 80/20 thing rattling around in my head. We'll get to the detail once we,
Well, but the point, I think the point that Bob would make if you weren't drinking water is simply that this is replacement, and I mean, this is not replacement, this is major maintenance.
Correct.
this is maintenance. Okay. That's
And when we talked to the county, that was the first thing we addressed with the county.
Yes, I know.
It's maintenance. It's identified as maintenance in the bridge reports. I'm sorry I don't have the reports with me.
I'll come back and look at them again, because
Yeah.
I didn't see anything in there that would require major engineering studies.
I don't think you've heard me say major engineering studies once.
Yeah.
You're saying it. I'm saying we're engaged with an engineer because we don't understand the engineering reports that the county provided.
Okay.
Nor does the county. And I'm not going to just have, not that the county doesn't know, but we both are asking the same, what does it mean? When they say repair this, what does it mean specifically? It's not just replacing a board. We have sprawling concrete underneath, so what's the repair to it? Is it a patch? Do we reframe it? I don't have the answer. I prefer to get an engineer to tell me the answer.
I'll look at it again. I don't think they said to correct the spalling concrete. They noted there was spalling
Again,
concrete.
your interpretation, I'm going to follow this process unless redirected by the board.
Fine.
Assuming we go through those steps, and the next, again, I'm trying to give you what would occur to get the bridges up to date. We would then award a contract. Our engineering company will work hand in hand to make sure the work's being done correctly. Not unlike this process, just so everybody understands, is not different than some things we've done. The recent one, the most recent, was with our roads, where we had Steve Soule review the road work, make sure what we had received to say the worst road conditions he agreed with. He helped us do the RFP that went out to bid. Again, third party, he reviewed it along with us, and when we awarded the contract, he also went out and inspected as it was being completed along with our folks, because when you're talking a $500,000 contract, having more than one set of eyes looking at it was prudent. So this is the same process. And then we were looking at budget items, and obviously, when you're looking at the budget, more immediate actions based on the conditions of the bridge. When do we have to address them? We felt the next 2 years, the FY14 and 15 budget, we could address the bridges specifically based on the immediate need and address the ones in worst condition first. So that's the process we're going through. By next month, we'll have a much more updated, here's where we are and here's our recommendation. I'm giving you the process so you know what we're tackling right now.
These bridges involve the North Gate,
All our bridges.
the one over by the
Golf.
Clubhouse Drive,
Yes, ma'am?
and the one over Ocean Parkway. Those are the three bridges. Am I missing anything?
You're missing the
North Gate
WO.
counts as two.
Yeah, north is in and out. There are two bridges.
Okay. What about the viaduct under Route 90? I mean, that's state. They take care of that. We
That's
don't
state.
deal with that. Okay.
No, they don't take care of it, but the state.
But that, I'm just saying we're not responsible. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, delinquent accounts, just a quick update from last month. Some things that we're actively working on, and please understand it's an extremely busy time for our membership office. They're the ones handling all with the association dues and memberships rolling over. But we're still working on the delinquent side. And the reason why I pointed out, there seems to be some confusion of the steps we're actually taking, and I fielded a lot of calls about it. So to clarify, we're following FO Board to the letter. Our collection rate is very good. However, in our February meeting, there's a group of us, 6 of us this year that got together, as I brought to the board and said, here are the steps we're going to work towards this year. One of them was identifying other ways to do collections, i.e. small claims court. We have filed five people that are in the delinquent status have been filed at court. We've gone through that process to file to collect those, and we're going to measure that and see what the results are. Several were above the 5,000, several were below, so we're going to get a good feedback, and we're learning the process ourselves. The reason we didn't do more is just because of the amount of business we have with our membership right now. We started small, we're learning the process, we'll measure the results. Yes?
I notice we keep talking about title work. That's great for filing liens and foreclosing.
Mhm.
But for the step that was addressed in the motion in January, it's just suing them. I mean, if they got a job and they're local, we ought to be chasing them for a judgment. We might be foreclosing at the same time on a lien if they have equity, but if they get a job, we can get something once we get a judgment.
I think we determined that, and that's why we're now going in small claims
Okay,
court.
well, I just didn't understand why the title work was an important consideration.
Well, we're not going to stop the ongoing efforts that we've had that have been successful
Okay.
because there was a change. We're adding on to it. At 97% collection rate, we're extremely successful with our collection efforts. We're going to try to improve that this year.
You mentioned 5,000, some below for
Yes, sir.
5,000. There was a focus in that meeting in discussing small claims court, and there was a general focus on the 5,000 because of the nature of the motion.
Right.
And yet it has been suggested, I've suggested it in the past, and I'm hoping that you'll continue to pursue it, that there's no magic number. I mean, in fact, I believe that the earlier we start the small claims process, perhaps in parallel with, and perhaps in lieu of the foreclosure process, and the better off will be, the more we'll collect. I know attorneys who do that business and found that's their experience. And I hope that as you get comfortable with the process and find that it's really not, that onerous to do, that you're not looking at that fund just at that 5,000. If somebody owes us money, you can take it for it. Don't consider it for it. Having done all
Oh,
the
no, I
things that
understand. That's why
we
we're
can
doing
do to make
the
it
5
work.
we've started is to your point exactly. 3 were above the 5, 2 were below the 5. So you're 100% right, and we are doing that. And this is I told you we would do a process where we take a stepped approach and we measure the results. We are actively doing that. So I agree with you. We're in complete alignment on that.
Just to put this in perspective,
Yes,
our
sir.
collection rate's 98.5% or something like that.
Well, but the best way to explain it is we have approximately, I don't have it right in front of me, we have approximately 650,000 in outstanding actual dues that are outstanding to us. Okay? Of that amount, you have to compare, it took us 5 years to get to that point. That 5 years, we billed over $37 billion in assessments. That's how you have to compare it. When people say that number is very, very large, it is, but it's small compared to the amount we billed and actually collected during the normal process. So yes, we're above 97. Our efforts have been working, and now we're enhancing it.
I don't mean to belabor this, but I want you to know, we're all on the same page. I think it's great that we've collected 98%. None of this has anything to do with that 98%, other than every one of them's owed $100 by the 2%. This is about the people who aren't paying. The $900,000 in liens currently recorded in the courthouse of Worcester County. It's not about the people that are paying. It's not about pat management on the back. What a great job we're doing.
We're not.
This is about the people
You
who aren't paying.
You can,
Okay, well, hold on.
again, I'm updating
No
where we
one,
are.
Marty, I understand your comment and I get it, but I didn't hear Bob patting himself on the back or anybody else. If he's patting anybody on the back, he's patting the membership of this organization on the back, where 98% of them are paying their dues.
Excuse me.
We are going after that last 2 to 3%. We didn't pass a motion two meetings ago in order to ignore it. So is there something else you want us to be doing I agree, we drug our feet a little bit getting to court, but we're there now. So is there another step we need to take?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm going to stop updating on stuff at work.
No. Actually, the exact opposite.
Oh, my goodness. All right, let me tell you about some new initiatives just as a heads up. Working with the county, working with the chamber, being the Ocean City Chamber, there's a new trolley service that's being proposed. And it's for, it would impact Ocean Pines, West Ocean City, and Berlin. This is a draft. No one shoot the messenger on this. Okay, there's some proposed sponsorships, there's some costs and all that. This is what's been worked on. Again, we're participating from in the meetings, understanding what's going on. I think it's a good activity. Basically what it is they're looking at getting two buses, but they're really trolley buses. So you get that old-time feel of a trolley, and running it from West Ocean City into Berlin, into Ocean Pines, and sort of that corridor, where they have specific pickup places and times where you could come and get on the bus. As an example, for us, the area that we would probably look at would be right here at the community center. If you didn't want to have to drive to West Ocean City to the outlets, or drive to Berlin to go downtown to shop, you could park your car here and get the bus out front on the schedule and take you over to Berlin or the outlets or wherever. Also included in their route, their preliminary route would be Astig Island. So it's a neat opportunity. You'll notice different elements. There's a sponsorship element. That's more of a business wanting to sponsor. They get their name all over the trolley. And apparently some businesses are doing that. It's just not included in my paperwork. As a matter of fact, I have another meeting Friday that I'll attend about it. There's also levels where organizations like cities like Berlin, you notice they have a contribution level that they've committed to in there.
It's interesting. I brought this up 6 years ago, and the only reason this has occurred is these two trolleys that they're talking about were brought by Ocean City 3 years ago. And they found out that the chassis on the trolleys are getting beat up so bad over in Ocean City that they want to donate it to this purpose here rather than buy all. So they're kind of neat.
So it's an initiative. I'll have more information in the coming weeks, but I thought I'd bring it to your attention, something we're exploring, something that I do believe we ought to participate in at some level.
Giving this a quick review, one of the stops I would like to see on this schedule.
Not your house. It's not
Not
happening.
my house, okay.
Yacht
is
Club?
The Beach Club.
Beach Club. Well, it's not Ocean City. West Ocean City,
West Ocean City.
Berlin,
Oh,
and here.
okay. So this isn't going into Ocean
No,
City
sir.
at all?
At this point, there's no
No,
and
it goes
say
to
that-
park and ride, and then you take the
park
bus
and ride.
over. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Okay.
When did, you know when Brad Belichico moved out of the Salisbury Chamber of Commerce and into this organization?
No, sir. I don't think he's out of that, is he?
I don't know. I'm just.
I don't believe he's out of it. I think he's just participating. Okay? Again, trying to be informative. 45th anniversary, as in our newsletter, and we've talked about, this is our 45th year anniversary, some of the events and that we're looking at. Again, it's going to say draft. I want to hear, why are we not doing or are we doing it? I'm sorry. These are just the ideas of where we are right now of this summer, the events we'd like to have celebrating our 45th anniversary. Okay?
Kind of interesting, the board of directors has a member of the board now that was the chairman of the 35th. You want to handle this again?
No, thank you.
I've tried to get her to handle it. She will not.
I move that Sharon O'Hara take over the leadership. Second.
Wait a minute,
Oh, wow, I
guys.
like it.
Discussion.
All right, just a couple of things I'll throw out there. We're looking at we're looking at weekend events. Some of the highlights here are the first thing would be Friday night to do basically a birthday bash at the Yacht Club and have dignitaries cut a cake, the whole kind of celebration. Festival in the Park would be that Saturday, pretty much the next day. And that's going to include items like kids' stage performance, bands, beer and wine garden, farmers market, arts and craft vendors. There's a lot of things that they're working on under that. And then you move to the next day where we're participating with the Ocean Pines Chamber with a classic car show and parade. Okay? So these are the events that we're working towards for the 45th. The weekend is in August 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Yes, sir.
Liz and I are co-chairs. Who's Liz and who's I?
Teresa.
Oh, really?
Liz is with the Ocean Pines
Liz,
Chamber.
I'm sorry, Liz Chambers?
It's the Ocean Pines Chamber. She's a director.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't, yeah.
I didn't understand that.
And Teresa's our side.
Well, he told us.
Liz is the Ocean Pines Chamber.
Director of the Ocean Pines.
I is Teresa.
Correct. You don't think I prepare all this myself, do you? Come on. Okay? Any questions for me?
Thank you, Robert. You did a great job.
Thank you all.
Actually, I didn't.
We'll run that fast.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just the letter that we had in our inboxes from Mrs. Pat, I think it was.
Is that for the,
Regarding the kayaks and everything like that.
yeah, we'll go back and look at the kayak sites. For the letter basically referred to, and appreciate you making sure I didn't miss it, referred to our locations of the kayak sites and if they're marked appropriately. If you look at, this is material that was printed that we used, we hand these out. You'll notice in there that the kayak sites are clearly marked with a kayak in the light blue. Now, we'll go out and look at the parks and see if we need to improve the sign, but it marks our walking trails where our parks are and the kayaks are located on here.
Where did the kayak entrance on Boston Drive and I think that's Watertown, but my eyes are really bad.
Again, you're going to look at, you got to go out there and share it.
There's a spot there marked.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all marked. I mean, we're just going to go back out following up with the letter and see if we need to put a different type of sign, maybe the signs, maybe kids
So
taking
it's
a sign.
like a little outlook that we own.
Correct.
She apparently well, of course, I don't know the full story, but she apparently ended up in a wrong spot, and the property owner yelled at her, and, she couldn't figure out what it was.
Yeah.
I was kind of a nice letter, I thought.
It was.
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, there was
And so she was just asking for, better signage and these better maintenance of the site. But
And we're going to go back out. We're going to check. I showed you what we highlighted, how we mark it. We will actually go back out as part of our spring operation, and if we need to do anything to change signage, clean up the sites, we will certainly do that.
Bob and I, as an action item, Bob and I will draft a letter which I will circulate to the board that would be going back in response to that handwritten or the typed letter that we got.
I give you permission to do it all on your own. I trust you.
You let me do it on my own?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll do it then, okay.
Go on.
Marty?
Yeah, I've actually had three questions. Last month's GM report, and then again today you mentioned it, that we're working on a new website.
Yes.
That's great. I can't find where that is in a budget. Now, that's probably just because I don't know where it is. I mean, it's
PR department, you would actually identify it. It's in there.
18.5, okay. So have we done any kind of bid process?
We did, and we didn't do the formal RFP like where you put all the specs out, because what we, in lieu of that, because when you look at websites, there are so many ways. You can do your own website. You can do what we did where we had a community member help us with a website. You get professionally done. We decided that we would reach out to find out what organizations were who was creating websites with other organizations, including towns, including businesses. And then we reached out to the different companies and spoke with them and said, hey, we're interested in a new website. Take a look at our website and then give us an idea, give us a proposal of what you would recommend we do with our website. Then we sat and interviewed the companies. We had multiple interviews. We liked 3 of them, had a second interview with them. got down to 2, had a third interview, and made a final selection based on what we thought was going to give us the most bang for the buck.
So we have a contract with this crew.
We do.
How much?
The website is, off the top of my head, 8,900.
What?
Oh, yeah, it's half of what was on there. Yeah.
Okay.
And the other bids were higher, but we liked what we were getting for the money on this one.
Second question, I also sent this to you, but I mean, do we have a mosquito plan for this summer?
We do. We work with the state. The state actually manages the mosquito plan. We worked with them last year.
Last year didn't work out real good.
I would beg to differ. Last year worked out well. Well, again, we're going to differ as we've discussed.
Well,
They-
we used to have a truck and a mosquito sprayer.
And we had that this year. This past season, we had it.
Okay.
They upgraded. We got one of the newer trucks. The new, again, everything's newer. You get quieter operations. They got one of the quieter operations in here. They used to do it 6, 7 in the morning here, so everyone heard it. Those running, those walking, those things. I was getting complaints about that. I asked them when they did their schedule, could they move us earlier, so they were doing the 2 to 3 o'clock run for us when most of our residents were sleeping.
Before you go away from that question, the real issue becomes not are we or are we not managing mosquitoes, but what's the trigger that says, okay, turn the truck on and make them take a run? Can you talk
Yeah,
about that?
absolutely, because we talked about it last 2 years. They actually, the state has a program where they put mosquito traps out. They measure those traps, and they do it on a regular cycle. And based on the amount of mosquitoes, the type of mosquito, triggers the run or the non-run when they run the truck, and the number of times they run the truck. If you remember, West Nile was a big one that we worry about. So they check them, they send them up for state, they analyze them and figure out what type of mosquito, and based on the number of mosquitoes, based on the time of day they put it out, it's all based on calculations, will determine how much they spray, how often they spray, how many days a week they spray.
But are we still providing transportation for that sprayer, or what's the impact to our bottom line, our budget?
Ooh, last year, and I'm sorry, Art's not,
Round figures are fun.
18,000,
It's not
19,000?
much, I know.
18 or 19,000 last year.
We pay them a fee for this
We
service.
do pay for the service.
Yeah, okay.
I'm correct, those traps, those purple things you see hanging in the trees?
They were traps for a different.
They were
they were-
checking for, I thought they said.
Yeah, they were checking for other things with those as well.
Yeah.
Beetles and something else.
Well,
Yeah.
Witches.
Anything else?
Do you have one
No,
more?
no, I'm done.
I have one. You provided us with the monthly financial report. And I see we have our assistant controller, number 2, sitting out in the audience. The page 2 of this financial report is the 11 months ended March 31st, 2013. It's called the operating account summary. And I'm very interested in the actual column as opposed to the budget or the variance column, because that actual column shows at the bottom line that we're still $235,000 in the black. And as you go through the revenue portion of that, it says less transfers to reserve accounts of $3,937,000.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, I can't find an adding machine that makes the reserve sheet, any way I add it, come up to that number. So hopefully somebody can, Pete.
Mr. Gomsack, you want to do this?
Sure. You have an item sheet?
Huh?
Yeah,
As a
and,
matter of fact, I do.
Yeah, the number's 3,937. If you flip to page 9,
You're usually loud enough.
if you flip,
We got it.
if you,
You're good, Ed. She turned it down.
okay, if you flip to page 9, the last column, the total column, what that is, Dan, is the transfer of all assessment dollars and interest income into, is this giving me feedback?
No, you're right.
You're good.
You're okay.
Pete,
If you take the three numbers, Dan,
Pete,
just
take
walk
2 steps this way so you're not right under the speaker.
take the three numbers in the final column, 72,537,
Right,
3,464,763,
right.
and 400,000. Bingo. That totals $3,937,000, which is the number that appears on page 2.
All right, good.
What that excludes is, of course, the lifetime memberships.
Right.
But those other three numbers total to that exact amount.
Thank you.
You want?
I just couldn't find it.
Yeah, no, it's the total amount of the transfers excluding the lifetime into the various and sundry reserve funds, including the bulkheads.
Thank you, Pete. Now I know where to find it. Okay. And now I also know that we're still operating in the black at the bottom line, and I should find.
That's what I care about. Okay, special presentation
Mr.
section.
President, request from a board member, can we take a 5-minute break and give these guys a chance to set up before we get cracking the meetings?
We can take a 5-minute break. I think Bob already set them up, but we'll take a break anyway.
Thank you, sir.
5-minute break. Okay. Mr. Statursky is turn the meeting over to you for a special presentation. I understand you have a couple guests here that might be helping out with this.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I'm not making this presentation. What we're doing this afternoon, excuse me, is recognizing the fact that there are people in Ocean Pines who don't sit on the board and who don't work in the administration and who don't even necessarily work on advisory committees, who nonetheless are still very interested in what's going on in their community and have spent their own time and their own money and their own energy to go look at problems and come back and ask to come back to the board with a description of the problem and perhaps some recognition or recommendations with respect to that. The first one that I bumped into that was both thorough and serious are two gentlemen by the name of John Roeder. John, you want to stand up and say hi to everybody? And Dick Claggett, who's sitting right next to John, who are both residents of Section 3 in Ocean Pines. For those of you who don't know, that's over on the north side. It's not too far from Bainbridge Park, and it's somewhere down the drainage line that goes across Beecham Road. These two fellows have been living there for quite a while, both of them since the 1995, 96, 97 period, right, guys?
I'm not quite that long.
Well, close enough. But they're both very familiar with what happens in any sort of inclement weather in Section 3, which has been a problem. They're both very aware of what the county has done in terms of repair to part of that drainage system. And they have this morning, I think, a visualization of some of the things that our general manager was talking about in his plan and his approach to drainage throughout Ocean Pines. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to Dick Claggett and to John Roeder, let them do their presentation, and then we will take questions from the directors when they're finished. Dick and John will, and that's kind of that for that. It's all yours, Dick.
Okay, thank you for the time. And I also want to thank all the work that was done, whoever put the effort in for the new pipe over River Run, because I think it's going to help us. I happen to agree with Bob. I think it's step one, and it was good to hear. It was good to hear that you're continuing to look into our problem and try to help.
Let me check on something here technically.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to get this over the internet and streaming without a microphone?
Oh,
They're going to be able to hear him on the internet and stream, okay? Okay, go ahead.
that'd be good. So I'm going to start out by describing the area, just so you have some understanding of where we are and where the problem arises. As you can see, this is the Bainbridge Pond, and this is Bainbridge Park here. These thick blue lines are the main water flows that flow through this area. But this encompasses Beacon Hill, Sandy Hook, Pinehurst, and Beecham Road. So there's 4 different roads that this water flows through. What we have is a significant inflow from Section 3 to Bainbridge Pond, and also the significant inflow from Section 2 and 3 as it goes over towards the Burr Hill, Canal Road, and that area there. And this goes all the way up to Ocean Parkway. So we have a large influx of water into Bainbridge Pond. However, we only have one outflow over to River Run. And so any time that we have any issues here, let me point out one thing. These small lines here are the ditches in front of our house. So these run up and down all the roads here. What this is the main drainage system out of Bainbridge, the only drainage out of Bainbridge. Any time that we get any problem in this area, we get any kind of backup either in River Run or anywhere along here, it starts to flood up and down the streets. And I know for Sandy Hook, I live on Sandy Hook, this will come about a half a block up, and even further sometimes. I've seen it as far as a block up Sandy Hook. So that it doesn't flood everybody, but it floods quite a few. And I've got some pictures of Allendale Court that I live on the corner. Later on, I'll show you how bad it does get. But the first thing I wanted to do is talk a little bit. Oh, this is the new pipe here. That's the new pipe that goes into a pond, which is right in here, that you can see from Beecham Road. And so I think that's going to help us a lot, and we'll just have to see. But there's some issues that we have in order to get that flow of water over to River Run. So what happened March 6th, 7th, we had a storm, a nor'easter. Best I could tell was around 3 inches. I didn't have a rain gauge, but what I did is I went to the National Weather Service and got radar estimates, and it looked like about 3 inches. And I could have sworn in the past we had handled that amount of rain because it wasn't over a short period of time. It was almost over a 24-hour period. But what happened is we had flooding right here, flooding here, and flooding here. But when I observed it, I didn't see any problem flowing out to River Run. I didn't observe it all the time, but I had been over there 2 or 3 times. So we were already flooded within Ocean Pines, but River Run, the flow was going well over there. So what did I do? We waited. We couldn't see what was going on. And what we did is we, on the 8th, after the water had receded, we took a look to see what's going on. So the first thing, we've got, this is Beacon Hill, and I'll point it out here for you so you can see. These are these 2 pipes right here.
Yep.
At Beacon Hill, okay? Now the one pipe, this is pipe 2, that has been clogged for months. So there's very little, if any, water that goes through that. And you can see what's going on with pipe 2. That got clogged during the storm, mostly because this ditch that goes to Bainbridge Pond over here has a lot of debris in it. It has twigs, it has leaves, etc. So this is, for the most part, what I see here is just a maintenance issue that needs to be addressed. All right, this is pipe number 3, and you can hardly see it there. And this is right here. We have, on Sandy Hook, we have kind of an odd way that the water flows. It comes down, we have one pipe that goes underneath the street, but then we have another pipe that goes underneath the driveway and then comes under the street. Not a real good design, but this is pipe 3 that's clogged up. So during the storm...
The one going under the road is the one that's clogged up?
Yes,
Yeah.
well, under the driveway.
Yeah.
This is under the driveway here.
Right.
So it's under the road. It's the
Yeah.
one that's
So-
going to the diagonal.
So both of these pipes on Sandy Hook were open to some extent. And so what was happening here is that water was flowing over several yards here in order to get into this pipe and eventually go. So we never had any water flowing over Sandy Hook. This whole area here was flooded at Beacon Hill because of those two pipes. And the only way the water was getting across here was flowing over the road. So that's what I observed. Okay, on pipe number 4 is down here at Pinehurst Road. And you probably can see it a little better, but that is completely clogged with debris. And again, all these ditches really need to have some major cleaning done to them. But that is the pipe. Now this other pipe that comes, this is another configuration like Sandy Hook, Pinehurst, where it goes under a driveway to get to the other pipe that goes back into the flow of water over to River Run. This pipe on this end is completely crushed, so there's almost no water flow going through this pipe, even if it could get over there, but at this time it can't get over there because it's clogged. So these are the problems that we saw along here. And like I say, we always saw water flowing under Beecham and over here. Now, we'll mention another thing that I did find out from John Katowski, the golf course supervisor at River Run. The county had put in straw around these pipes where they disturbed the soil so that they would minimize erosion. Well, in that rainstorm, what it did is washed all that straw and partially clogged at least one of the pipes. And so John called, I guess, I don't know what day it was, but the county came right out, cleaned it out, and since then the county has come back and completely sodded this area. So we shouldn't have that issue again. That area looks really good. I know the engineers that took a look at it that, Jerry was talking about, indicate that it is a 90-degree angle from where the water flows in. And that's probably not the best, but it looks good from where that, from the work that they did there. So, this also is this shows the condition of the ditch on March 8th. And this ditch happens to be the one from Beacon Hill to Sandy Hook. You can see just part of it. It takes a 90-degree jog and then goes over to Sandy Hook. But what you see in here is debris. And what these ditches do is it rains hard, they become a buffer. And then as rain slacks off, then it flows out through the pipe. Well, when it does, it washes all this debris off the side. You've got sticks in here, and then it jams up against the pipe, and it clogs you up. So that's why you'll get a good flow initially in a storm, but then after a while, it clogs. So, why did Section 3 flood in March 6th or 7th? I think it was just a clog. It looked to me, every time I looked at it, at River Run, it looked like it was flowing well. And in fact, I read some reports where that pond had overflowed, but what I saw, that pond went up 2.5 feet. And the way I judged that, if you ever drive over to Beecham Road and look at that pond, on the other side of the pond is a 3-foot outflow pipe that flows into the other piping that goes and eventually into another pond and eventually into the St. Martin's River. And I judged it based upon that. The water level never came up above that pipe in River Run. So, and again, I always saw good flow going in there. So I assume that, or from my my looking at it, it looks like it should handle more than what we were able to give it at that time. The other thing that I have noticed over the past several years, and I'm not saying that there has been no maintenance done to that Bainbridge drainage over the last several years, but it's mostly around the culvert areas, and it's never been a thorough cleaning. And I think that's where we need to go today to really see what we have in terms of performance of the overall system. And I don't think, from what I saw, at least on that storm, that we'll ever get to use the additional capability unless we start to clean this out. So, what I think we can do to help minimize, and again, I think there's always going to be a storm that's going to be more than what we can handle. But we need to clean out, at least at a minimum, all the culverts, the 10 pipes that we have there. There's even the pipes that are open have silt in them. So even though they may be a 15-inch pipe, they may be acting like a 10 or a 12-inch pipe. They're not giving us the performance that we would like to see. The other thing, they have jagged edges. I think this comes probably from when we used to use a flailing mower to mow the area, and it would come up against the pipe and it would tear the pipe. I'm not sure about that, but that's my best guess at how. But these jagged edges catch debris, so anything that flows in there, if that catches it, and then you get more debris caught, and all of a sudden you got a closed pipe. There's bent and crushed ends, which will tend to impede the water flow. So there's maintenance to do on those pipes. I think the other thing we could look at is installing a flare or apron. It looks like a funnel sideways, kind of open. And it makes the water flow more efficiently entering into the pipe, and it's smooth so it won't catch the debris. So leaves and stuff like that, the small stuff will just go right on through. So that's what we think at a minimum that needs to be done. And I think you need to clean out all 10 of the pipes. And I can point those 10 out here. Just so it's these two at Bainbridge, these two at Beacon Hill, these 3 at Sandy Hook, these 3 at Pinehurst.
The grade
The grade, that's the
on the chart that we, this is the same as that.
yes. I didn't make a mistake. But I think if we don't clean the ditches out, we may be cleaning the culverts again fairly soon. We need to, just as I showed you the ditch, we need to get the bottom and the sides completely clean. So that, and that includes all the tree limbs, the leaves, saplings. You know, it hadn't been cleaned in so long, we got saplings growing up in the ditches. And all of this can impede or clog the culvert once it flows into it. I think also we need to set up a maintenance program for this. I think once you get it clean, I don't think it's going to be that much effort except in the fall. I think you could go through once a quarter. You could probably, hey, you've got a big storm like a Sandy or, coming, let's go check things out. And that would help us. So in summary, I'm kind of with you, Bob. I don't think just cleaning the drainage will solve all our problems. I think it'll help us utilize that new pipe over at River Run. But there will always be significant storms that could cause flooding. But I think the key is here, we should try to utilize the resource we have to the maximum. And we're not going to do that unless we keep this. And I'm not talking about cleaning all the ditches in the neighborhood. This is a key drainage system. A lot of water flows in here. So we're trying to get this thing cleaned out because water flows in here, and across. So if we can get that clean and keep it clean, I think it will help minimize the flooding issues that we have. some of the things that have happened. I mean, I know I've had my house where I can't go out any door sometimes. You can't get into your cars because you got, water. And I live a half a block away from that ditch. We got water in garages. Whenever you have water land, on the ground around your house, it's going to hydraulic right up underneath your footers and come right in the crawl space. And you're going to have moisture, potential wood rot, and just that water coming in and out is going to provide some erosion for your foundation, which is not a good thing. Landscaping material washes away. My wife wants to put all this stuff in there, and I said, well, wait till the next storm, it'll all go away. So, and we did have one thing that happened. I hadn't heard this before, but one of our neighbors fell into the ditch on Pinehurst Road and could not get out because the ditch was so slippery. And luckily there was a couple of people there that helped him out. And when these roads flood, it's hard to determine where the road is and where the ditch is. So it can be a safety issue also. The other thing, and I'm not trying to be parochial here, so I'm just mentioning, I think there's other key drainage systems that we ought to make this a priority within Ocean Pines to get these key things to the best shape we can to get the performance out of them. Just show you, that's not a good picture, but this shows Allendale Court. Water was all over, but it was too dark to take the picture at night. This, by the way, is a previous storm, not the May 6th, 7th. It shows another foot at 7 Allendale Court up. Sandy Hook is right here, and you go down Sandy Hook to get to the ditch. So it's hard for some people to get in their cars. The kids like it. Anyhow, we need some help, and I don't think, we're not asking for any capital improvements at this point. I think Bob's doing some engineering work that'll help determine what that might be in the future. But right now, we want to maximize what we have and get the utilization what we need. So
I have a couple questions.
Sure, go ahead.
The main water flow ditches that on your chart, which are the blue.
Yes.
Have you seen any issues with them when you're out looking at them? Are they flowing fine?
Generally they do. And Bob helped me out last year because this ditch right here after Sandy had a 3 or 4 foot dam across it. I mean, it was completely closed. And, I guess they brought equipment in and cleaned that out. So that was taken care of.
So the main feeder line, which is the critical path for the water, which even your gray lines feed into,
Right, but
don't appear to be an issue.
They're not an issue from the point of view of they're there and they should be sufficient, except that they're dirty. They have debris in them. So that debris is what clogs, what comes into the gray area here and clogs the pipe. That's the problem.
I can't visualize here, I wish I had another map, that exactly the extent of the light blue lines or the ditches, which you say...
In front of the house.
Because that's what's feeding the leaves and debris.
No,
The gray.
the light blue here
Or the ditches.
are the ditches in front of your house.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I know
So
that.
we try to keep those as clean as we can in the area. In fact, the absentee homeowners, I know we go out and we clean their ditches too, just so that we don't have debris coming in here and clogging up this.
Yes. Okay, so where's the debris coming from, if not from those ditches?
Oh, let me go back and show you.
Let me try to respond
Well,
also to one of your questions.
this is
Let me get this question.
This is one of the ditches and this is the main flow ditch coming out of,
big blue line.
this is the big blue line right here.
Between Beacon Hill and
Beacon
Sandy.
Hill and Sandy Hook.
Okay, that's this picture.
And so this is the debris here. The leaves, and in fact, I didn't take it far enough. There's a tree that's fallen across here, and there is a dam there already.
Okay, so
But I mean, the ditches are okay, except they need to be cleaned.
that's a lesser area than if you don't have to go down all the, the streets with smaller ditches, only the main flow
We're
ditches.
talking
have
about
to be
four. We're talking about 4 ditches that are 2 lots long, which are how deep are lots here? 75, 100 feet. So you're talking each of these is about 150 to 200 feet. Is probably what you're talking about. Go ahead, John.
Tom, to your question, anytime these major, and these are 5 by 5 foot ditches, they're big.
Yeah.
Anytime they start to build up or accumulate, even if they're only half blocked, what happens is, our best service would be to have a continuous flow. This is basically a retention pond, and it will rise normally 2 to 3 inches before it even starts exiting any water, because the water evaporates over time. But let's just say right here, like if you went there today, for example, you would see about halfway down a huge clump of leaves and twigs covering about half of it. So if there's no rain or a minimum rain, that goes through and it flows. But on a big rain, what's very important is that we have a continuous flow during the whole episode, so that we don't have surges. In other words, a plug breaks free and then surges. Now, what happens when that plug does break free and surges? It catches on to the corners of these conduits, and now all of a sudden that conduit is blocked. So what we're saying to you is, let's start with a fresh path. And that means cleaning out those 5 by 5s and blowing out, or whatever methodologies you want to use, cleaning out those
Pipes.
big pipes.
Yeah, I have no clue of what that would take to do that, but
Yeah.
We do it. We do
Well,
it regularly.
Yeah.
The other thing that Dick has brought out here is each of these pipes, 15-inch pipes, on the intake, they have ragged edges. That has to be fixed. And a collar, like he described, an apron, would do that. On the back side, a number of them are either bent over or crushed down so that the flow going out is restricted. So that's all we're asking for. This is, look at this as phase 1. This is a poor man's fix. But
Well,
we think that in fact, this might just take care of 80 to 90% of the rain events that we have.
we actually, from my perception, we are flooding more now than we have in the past. I've lived here 9 years. The last 2 or 3 have been kind of the worst. Now, we've had a couple bad storms, and I'm going to discount those. But we've had other storms that I felt that we have. Now, I don't have statistics or metrics on that, but it just seems like we're flooding more often now. And I think it's the maintenance. Yes.
First of all, I want to thank both John and Dick, and I know we have some people in the audience who are neighbors. Just raise your hand so that a lot of people that know there's a lot of support out there. Thank you for all coming here. I appreciate that. John took me out and showed me all this. Next time I wear different shoes, John. Out there. But they're absolutely correct. But I think the point is even a little further that we need to go. The adjacent property owners, once next to these ditches, many of them have not cared for their property, and the leaves are being dumped in there, or they haven't even raked them themselves. So they're part of the problem. Now, one homeowner did that beautiful job of their landscaping they've done so that they don't have that issue. They kept it all clean, but it's it is a personal responsibility of the people who live next to these ditches also to keep their property, so that's not part of the problem.
Well, I think if I can, let me just make a comment here. I'm not preempting any more questions, but I'm beginning to think that there are, combining the two, Bob's presentation and yours together, basically says we need an engineering firm to tell us whether this design, as we currently have it, will function to take care of the issue. And I know from some basis that they do go out and clean things out on a schedule of some level at this point. The requirement then gets back to Sharon's comment, which is how much of this debris, where is it actually coming from? And that may be the final question that we've got to find out, is where's all this coming from that's clogging all this? So, common sense says, if you clean it out once, let's see how it works. At that point, then, we have to find out where some of these materials are coming from. So I think, as you said, it's a phased kind of approach. Some of the clean out, I know, is already being going on. But if the system itself isn't capable of handling it, so I think we got to get that answer as well. So, I think
it's more than a clean-out, Tom. Some of these things are actually crushed.
Right.
I mean,
Well,
there's
that's
no
different.
water going through
Right.
at all.
Right, go ahead.
Yeah, we also have to understand that the simple fact that debris in the lake that gets in there is a fact of where we live. There are 65, 70 miles of roads in Ocean Pine with ditches on both sides.
Right.
We have 130, 140 miles of ditches
Right.
in Ocean Pines in a 1.5 or 2 foot drop area to get it out to the water. So it's always going to be slow. Your particular problem up here, based on what I've seen, and I'm sure Robert knows exactly what he's been there often, over the period of time, it may not just be the crushing of the ends of the pipes, but you could have root infestation within the pipes that we don't really know about and keeping it clogged up. I don't know what kind of equipment is out there. I know it's got to be big stuff to start boring or drilling through these things. Is it Ocean Pine's responsibility to keep these things?
We
the
keep the
ditches?
ditches flowing. We have a
Yeah.
regular maintenance
That's
plan
what I thought.
that does it. We've spoken several times. And the county actually has a piece of equipment that blows the pipes out, and they're extremely responsive for us. I mean, we don't ever have to wait very long to get that piece of equipment. We actually looked at, for the last 2 years, budgeting for one, but when you actually go back and look at how quickly, it's usually 24 hours. The county will have that unless it's deployed elsewhere, but it's very seldom deployed. There's a crew that just keeps working it. They drive it up, they blow it out, and they're done. It doesn't take long. The county's very responsive for blowing out the pipes for us.
We have been waiting for one for a while, Bob. That one coming out, this one right here. I think one of the people in our audience put a request in to have that done somewhere in the end of February, early March, and it's still clogged. So I don't know what
Squeaky
happened
wheel.
there.
I'll the phone again.
Well, I think he has. So I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, but I'm saying we have and that hurt us a little bit for the March 6th or 7th storm. It certainly hurt the people down in this area. So you might want to check into that.
Comment,
Yes.
if I may. The ditches are the responsibility of the association, not the homeowners that abut it. Unless the person is purposely dumping leaves into the ditch, it's not their responsibility to clean them. As a matter of fact, they're not supposed to. I mean, if you read our declaration, they're not supposed to.
Well, let me give you a different perspective. We spend over $100,000 a year removing leaves from the community, primarily of the ditches, for this type of thing. So we've got to be reasonable in the approach. These type of things are going to be brought to our attention because we're trying to address this in a more effective way. But I want to be careful when you say it's our responsibility and not the homeowners. I think
I'm
again,
not saying it, I'm just reading it.
again, a reasonable person would say the way this is going to work is if we do the combination, working together with the homeowners, identifying the issues. Homeowners need to help us by we don't have enough staff. And anyone can say what they want. At $100,000 a year plus for leaf removal, and it's primarily keeping our ditches clear. So we're at this pretty aggressively. We've got to be careful here. We can't just say it's my 20-person public works team that it's their sole responsibility. We've got to work together.
Let me make a comment to you.
I'm not saying we're not gonna work together, I'm just saying it's our responsibility.
Let me make a comment to you.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that is important to Ocean Pines and voiced here frequently is the value of our properties, et cetera. It's frequently said that the way to drive that is to have better amenities. And that may be quite factual. I stand here in front of you and saying that if I was to sell my house and try to sell my house and papers have stigmatized Section 3 because of constant flooding, and then you would tell me that, well, baby, I've spent all we're going to have and you're not going to get any more, and it's tough. That's what you just said.
No, sir, you've mistaken what I said.
No, I didn't mistake it at all.
Mr. Roeder,
And I tell you that, again, we're not here to say that this is a small thing. It has many implications, and maintaining and selling property is one of them. So, what I would like to ask you to do is to readjust your mind to think that you have done a great job on drainage and or leaf removal, because that's questionable in many of the homeowners' minds. Okay, is that fair to ask you?
You're not only mistaken, but you're disrespectful.
Okay,
Here's why.
Stop
My
it,
mind
stop
is
it.
on, Mr. Clark, please, he's addressing me.
I definitely am.
My point is, we want to get this resolved. Mr. Faggett and I have spoken several times, and we've actually had our facility manager walking the site. And all this has been in the last 60 days or so, in addition to working with the county, in addition to bringing other engineers in to look at it. We take this very seriously. I'm dead set on getting this fixed for you. So please don't say you're in my mind that I don't think it's important. This is critical. I cannot believe for 20 years we haven't been able to solve this for you all. I think we need to. We are very focused on this, and I want to get this resolved. Mr. Faggett, have you had any resistance from me on this?
No, not at all.
We want this fixed. Please don't misunderstand our focus on this. We'll go out and take a look at this particular strategy that you're pointing out and see if we can't improve the efforts there.
Okay.
I don't have an issue with
Fair
that.
enough. I look forward to seeing you do it.
But, okay.
Any other questions? Yeah, David.
Well, no comment anyway. What I've heard, I heard what Bob said and what you gentlemen have said. And what I think, I believe, is that we've just seen, now that we have the river run, flow of water going through, what an additional problem is. And that's a long-standing problem. I mean, this has been there through however many, whether we spend $100,000 or not, removing leaves, we're not solving that problem, and we're not getting to make those ditches clean. And I think what I hear is that, and what I haven't heard from you, Bob, is that they were requesting that there be a focused effort on this area to clean these ditches and to repair the culverts that need them. A focused effort. When you say that I spend $100,000 a year in Ocean Pines, I'm happy for that because maybe some of my leaves get removed. But on the other hand, I'm not flooding. So this is a different problem. I think it ought to be addressed as a different problem. I know you're doing it with the engineer to look at the design and the systems and everything like that. But what they're suggesting is that a focused maintenance effort on this particular area, in this particular area, is required and would alleviate a great deal of it. So I haven't heard that.
Can I make a comment? I just, I appreciate everything. Yeah, I really appreciate the time here, but I want to make one thing that, from my perspective, to help us right now, because we have a broken drainage system at the present time, and studying is not going to help it. Study is good for the other phases. I don't agree with the way this design is. It's not good, and so I agree with you, Bob. But the next storm we're going to flood, and so we need to get this straightened out so that we can utilize. And we're flooding with less and less rainfall. That's where we are.
I thank you.
Thank you very
much for your information and your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to clarify one thing, Dave, to make sure we're all clear, from my sense of the conversation here, the $100,000 of leak removal was in context of the discussion about having members and residents help us out, which I don't think it's unreasonable to request that. I'm not suggesting they clean out the ditches, but, I think if they can bag them and put them in, which that's fine. I also think that we just got a request for a focused effort, and I believe that will happen.
That we're going to have a response to that.
I believe we will.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody's coming with you.
Okay. Advisory Committee evaluation reports. Here, let me do a little lead in here. One of the things that I asked Sharon to do, and this was her first year on the board, so I asked her to come and take a look at our advisory committees, look at how they're functioning, interview them, meet with them, basically take a few months to do an assessment, being brand new on the board, no extensive history of what may or may not have gone on. So I asked her to do that research. It ended up being a whole lot of fun, right, Sharon? But she's here to report an overview of her findings at this point and then make some proposals, I believe. But that's the background behind her report here. I asked her to, as a member of the board, to instigate this research study, and she has done so. Sharon, sorry.
Thanks, Tom. First of all, I've attended most of the committee sessions as a new member simply because I wanted to learn what was going on. And I was sitting there and I tried to figure out what was their task, what were they doing, and what was their response, and thanked everybody for their efforts. And I came away from several of these committees feeling a little like there was some angst going on between the committees and what was going on with the board. There were several repetitive comments that kept coming up, and everybody on the board has a copy of my documents. I'm just going to reiterate a few of them. Basically, they all have a charging document, each committee. We have about a dozen committees, and they all are charged with doing a task, but it's confusing to a lot of them. They don't know who they're supposed to talk to. Are they supposed to report to the board of directors through their committee liaison, and we each are a liaison? But they have no contact with the general manager by the charging documents, but really, they might be the logical person to talk to, the general manager. At least one committee, and he was here, or I think Dale's still here, he says their committee has formally requested for the board of directors to revise the board resolution and reflect the need for the general manager representation. They state, and I'm going to quote this, having a board liaison and the appropriate management representative present at meetings is more likely to foster cooperation, teamwork, and a practical check and balances than having only one or the other. I think that's key. And I think as I started listening to all these different committee reports, the committee was frustrated because they didn't know who to report to or how to report. The other major thing is once they did a task, and some of them just created their own task without anyone's approval, some are good and some bad. I'm not making judgment on that. For example, the communications committee goes ahead and does their thing, and they're doing an excellent job with it. But they're not getting feedback from us as a board. And I think we as a board should be going back when they've done a task or they've done a report and say, we received your report, number one. Number two, we're putting it under consideration. And we appreciate the efforts that have done there because this is a group of volunteers. And the overall thing I've noticed in the committees is that we have a tremendous resource of people in Ocean Pines. And I think it's just great that these people are willing to donate their time. But as a result, we need to reflect upon what their work is and respond to it. So the committees overall, without getting a response back, are feeling we're not listening, which may not be the case. They're just not getting the feedback back. So the whole crux needs to be, I think, communication. When I sat down and talked to board members individually, committee members individually, I've just done several meetings, I came to the consensus that we have a conflict basically, and the basic conflict is the board's policy is we're supposed to deal with policy issues. General manager works with day-to-day activities, things that involve all of us. For example, our report on the flooding that we've just had here. That's operations. That's his job. Our job is not operations. We're not supposed to be in the weeds doing all that kind of thing. So the key element which we've been missing, I think, is the general manager. So I've kind of written up 2 pages of proposed solutions. For a while, I thought maybe we need to restructure the committees. I'm not so sure we need to do that in particular. I think we need more involvement from management and also not just the general manager, but the department heads. We have meetings through an advisory council that happens twice a year. Again, the general manager has not been present. He's not been authorized to be there. I'd like to see him present at these things. But I think what we need to do is get a better communication going between the committee and the boards. So perhaps we could, as we did with some other issues, have a working session and get the rest of your input after you've had a chance to read this. Give Bob a chance to think about how can he get these committees to be more effective, because I'm sure that our manager has things that he would like to see done. But it's not all being communicated. For example, I'm chair of liaison with the clubs committee, and that's the food and beverage at the yacht club. And he came to one of our meetings at the request of the committee chair, and within a half hour, there were 3 tasks assigned. The committees were excited. They're going ahead. They're helping the general manager. They're helping the food and beverage manager, and they're doing something very valuable that will help the association make it a better place. Now, we may not use all their suggestions, but at least they're doing the legwork. So I would like to suggest that we'd have a working session, each of us taking a look at what our committees are, what we think our committee might need. Bob having a chance to think about how he could be more effective and how he could use the resources that we have more effectively. And that's basically what I have found. I think we have a really good opportunity here to make Ocean Pines better with all our resources.
Thank you, Sharon. That was, go ahead.
Just one quick comment on what she's talking about. One of the things that board members, when they become a liaison to a committee, should do, and I tried to do it when I was with the Marine and like, when you go to the meeting, they have questions, they have ideas and things. We present it to the board. We then have to go back to those people and sit down with them at the next meeting and say, this is what was done. That ain't going to happen. This will work. That'll work. We're at least talking about it. And when you did that, that's when you got to the appreciation to say, all right, fine, somebody's listening. Okay? So I think it's a responsibility of the board members who are liaison to certain committees to get the information back to them as well, not just Bob. But his involvement, usually when something comes up before him, it gets taken care of the next day.
But he's not present at these meetings.
Yeah, right.
That's the thing.
Well, by the structural design and the documents that drive the creation of these committees, they are by design reporting to the board of directors, which I'm assuming you're thinking it should continue to be that structure, but what we don't have in there is in essence the endorsement of having the operational side be really proactively involved in what's going on. But that's beginning to solve the problem. But if that, any other questions of Sharon at this point?
Yeah, I won't go into the things that you said, Sharon. I mean, frankly, there's a lot that I disagree with. And I've been watching and hearing this problem for 10 years, 4 years in the Fork, 6 years in Oceanside. The committee's just, the board doesn't really listen to the committee, or the committees don't communicate and so forth. It's a fact. I mean, it's true. With regard to Bob and management, we did for a while here, and some of our committees have, and we do still, as a matter of fact, had management representatives on the committee. So Art Carmine, for example, comes to mind immediately. He's always been the administrative representative, sits there and participates. Other committees, not so much, but none of them do though. I think the one thing that I will agree with Sharon is that if we're going to do anything about this, it would take a working committee. And I mean, I certainly can't, respond to what you've read in a time like this. But I think that's what it would take. It would take a working committee to get this, if we feel like it's out of alignment, to bring it back into alignment. And one other thing, just my own personal view of committees, talk about what they should be. And I thought this from the first day I ever heard of an advisory committee, is that they ought to be the board's window into the community. Not the general manager, not the people who work for the general manager, but the committees are supposed to be able to reflect what the community is thinking in a way that the individual board members or Bob Thompson can't think. And I think that's where the focus has to get back to. So at any rate, I think the working committee is good.
Okay. If all agree, we will set up that working session for the board to do that. As well, Sharon, I would request that in the upcoming executive council meeting, that basically just be the topic of that discussion to continue their input, and Bob, I'd like you to be at that meeting, be a part of it. Okay? All right, thank you.
Do you want to set a date for the next meeting, or do you want to handle that at a later time?
Then I'll handle that a little bit.
Okay. The next executive council, I think, is May 1st.
Yes, it is. All right, Dan, Elections Committee report.
The Elections Committee, under the chairmanship of Judy Butler, had their first organizational and planning and programming meeting on February 18th, and at that time established a calendar for the election of 2013. You all have a copy of that detailed calendar in your packages. I'd just like to highlight a couple of dates on there. First of all, May 10th is the application deadline for candidates. You don't like the guy sitting at the table or think you ought to be sitting here? Sign up. May the 10th is when we need your application. On June the 10th, the candidates will draw for positions on the ballot. June the 24th, key date, candidates forum at 7 p.m. in the Assateague room here in the community hall. July 12th, the election ballot will be mailed out. They do monitor. There will be a telephone number available, a hotline for anyone who has questions on the ballot or what to do with it. That hotline will be manned every day by a member of the committee beginning on July 13th through the end of the balloting period, which is actually August the 8th. Ballots are due back in by close of business on August the 8th. The ballots will be counted on August the 9th, and the annual meeting will be August the 10th. Kind of a summary of their calendar. Certainly that will be on the website. You can check that out, the Ocean Pines website, if you need any more information on dates that are going on with that. At this meeting, the committee brought up a couple of points that were recommendations that were made to the board last year that have not been followed up on, so I thought I'd bring them up one more time. First of all, they feel that there's very little in the way of advertisement or communications or effective communications about the candidates forum, and it could be made a little bit better. They were particularly impressed by the activity and action that were enhanced by the postcard that Ocean Pines sent out last year on the Yacht Club referendum. So they've recommended to the board that the elections committee would like to have permission to send a postcard reminder of the forum to registered property owners of Ocean Pines, members of Ocean Pines. I don't believe that that's a hugely expensive operation, and I suggest that we think about doing that for them.
Mr. Sikorsky?
Yes, sir.
It's approximately $2,500.
$2,500.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's usually expensive.
True.
Well, that's out there for consideration. I don't have a motion on the floor or on the table to do anything about that today. It's just something that we should think about. They will need to know whether we're going to approve that at our next meeting or not. They've asked for some amendments to MO6. Those are on the agenda a little later. And they asked a question that I don't have an answer to. Mr. Thompson, you may be able to answer this one for me. With our new identification cards, under our current charter and bylaws policies, those identification cards are not adequate for admission to the annual meeting because they don't show a photograph and a specific address for the person carrying the card. They show the photograph. All the rest of that information, I believe, is on the magnetic stripe on the back of that card. Now, I don't know if that includes the person's address, name, and all of that other information. But if it does, and there's a way to get a reader or two into the annual meeting, it would make registering people a heck of a lot faster and a lot easier.
Yeah, the intent is exactly that we have the card reader and they can swipe when they come in and we can easily identify them.
Okay.
You were correct.
Yeah, that's really extremely helpful. And the last thing that they ask for is normally we provide them with an alphabetized list of all members in good standing of Ocean Pines. They asked if we could sort that list two ways. One would be alphabetically by name, and the other one would be numerically by section lot. And I didn't think that would be a particularly difficult problem, but they'll request that by formal memo. Okay, that's my report, Mr. President, on that committee.
Okay, one other thing having to do with the elections, just so that it's public knowledge, the board members did receive an email from me informing them of this. I have asked Dan Statursky to step in and be the liaison to the search committee. It would be inappropriate for me as president, since I am eligible to run, to be the person being the interface with the search committee, so I've asked Dan to step in and take over that role, since I am eligible to run, if I choose to do so. So I back myself out of that position, and they have asked Dan to step in. They knew this. Just want to make sure you all knew that change that was made. Okay.
Dan,
Yes.
I think it's up, you get Marina.
Marina, next.
I don't have the marina. I have the Marine Activities Advisory Committee. I'm doing nothing with the marina.
When's gas?
Yes, it'll be, thank you very much. The Marine Activities Advisory Committee is a committee that we have been kind of enjoying some difficult times with. We've gotten those straightened out, and thanks for this one goes to President Tom Terry, who spent a remarkable amount of time getting these folks organized, finding someone to step up to actually be a volunteer to be the chairperson of the committee and to organize the committee and get it going. Their organizational meeting was on April the 8th, and they went through a whole series of tasks that they thought they might be looking at, or it might be worthwhile having the board tell them to look at. And I'm just going to take a minute to run through some of these, okay? One of them is the new boat ramp, which at White Horse Park. Bob, you're very aware of their interest in that, and you may want to use their comments and things like that on that should you see it fit. Marty talked to them a little bit about gates at the boat ramps, and they're interested in looking at that particular issue. Parking at the White Horse boat ramp, cars versus cars and trailers. I don't really know exactly what the detail is on that particular issue, but they'd like to make some suggestions on that. Parking at the Yacht Club boat ramp, I think, is a very interesting issue. They're talking about parking there outside of the normal season for Mumford's Landing pool. That pool parking lot is marked for, I think, about a half a dozen spaces for vehicle plus trailer for boats launching at the Mumford's Landing pool ramp. They're interested in making that, at least signing that, so that people who are dipping their boats before Memorial Day and after Labor Day can leave their vehicle and trailer parked in that lot instead of parking them out on the street, which is what they're currently doing. I don't think it's a major issue, but I have no idea what the volume of use is on that, how many people would be actually using that. I think they'll be more than happy to get into that issue again, should you think that's worthwhile for them to take a look at. And all of these, you'll notice, are operational issues that we're talking about and not policy issues. Hours of operation of both ramps they're interested in. Jet ski, kayak, and canoe launch sites and parking. That was an easy one, except to beat something out of this meeting. They're also interested in, and I don't know how we're going about dealing with this one. We've talked about it as a board before, but the bulkhead height throughout Ocean Pines, with discussions on global warming, which none of us, I don't think, are really qualified to comment on too much, but the issue of do we, as we continue to replace or repair bulkheads throughout Ocean Pines, actually raise the height of those bulkheads? That comment has come in from people who face the water and have been pounded by nor'easters. It's come in from other people who say, don't you dare raise that bulkhead 12 inches because I'm going to redo my whole backyard and dock system, and it's a small portion. I think there's some interesting issues there. Again, it's an idea, just throwing them out. They did suggest, Bob, specifically on the White Horse Park boat ramp, 2 prior to the 2013 opening season repairs. 1, add some tie-down cleats, which should be relatively easy. And 2, apparently there's some holes in the ramps that we might be able to put some cold patch in or something like that, just so we don't break axles on trailers. When will the gas pumps be open at the Yacht Club? That's been answered. And they would like to be able to present their issues directly to the board of directors in light of Sharon's study and some of the comments she's made. I believe that will become a reality as they have recommendations. And that's pretty much what's going on with the MAC committee. It is alive and well. It's willing and ready to support. It's a function of being directed in whatever way, shape, or form we think it needs to be directed in to help them out on where they're going. If we don't direct them, I assure you that the gentleman who has volunteered to be in the chair is going to. Thank you very much.
Clearly.
Any questions? That's the MAC committee at this point.
Okay, public comment. Where's the microphone? Where'd the mic go?
I got it. I just turned it on.
There we go.
I speak loud. My name is Ron Mason. I live at 29 St. Martin's Lane. I was here with 7 of my neighbors in October. I had some drawings of flooding in our yards. Also, we had the damages after Sandy, the second storm. We had 4 cars totaled. 2 of the houses had to have all of the air conditioning replaced. Mine was one up underneath because the water got so high in the crawl space. Since then, I've talked to Bob. I haven't talked to him. I emailed him in February. One of our objectives that we wanted to do was the water comes down the canal, makes a 90, goes under my driveway, makes another 90, and it goes across the street. So that's 2 90s that the water has to go through. And I also gave a drawing with elevation. The elevation is incorrect. So all my yard and 7 of my neighbors' yards, we're nothing but a stormwater basin. Whenever we get over an inch of rain, we get 6 to 12 inches, 16 inches of water in our backyard. Bob sent me a drawing showing a bigger pipe going under St. Martin's Lane, which we believe would take care of our problem. Our pipes that are there, besides they're not right, but you can see from them, not like the other guy where everything was clogged up and me and my neighbors behind us, we clean all the leaves out. We just can't get the water across the street. Now, during the heavy storm, Sandy, the storm after that, and the one we just had, I walk across the street. I put Guy in, and I walk across the street. Even during Sandy, when you guys came by and didn't think it was flowing, it was still flowing. And it ended up flooding down at the loading at the boat dock. The water would have got out of our yards and across the street more than the boat dock. And we'd rather have the water down there than our yards if that pipe gets replaced in St. Martin's. This has been a problem for many years, and we're so close to getting it done. I don't know where we are with getting this pipe in, but if that pipe goes in, I think it will lead not only our 7 yards, other people up in Section 2, because we run right on up behind, we're in Section 2 and run right on up out to Beach. So I just wanted to see if we can get some kind of an answer, or if Bob's looking into it on putting the pipe in. I've sent a couple of emails, haven't got a correspondence back on three, and I know that.
Okay, I'll let Bob respond, because we've been in communications as well. So.
Yeah, and we have talked about the pipe that Mr. Mason's recommending. Eddie Wells, our head of public works, he talked with Eddie.
Right.
And we've been working with the county. That's a big patch of area. I mean, it's not small, just crossing the road. It's catty corner across a big section. So we have to work with the county with this particular issue because it's the size situation we're dealing with. And Eddie is working with the county on it. I don't have a follow-up with yet on that. He is working with the roads folks with the county. So we are,
didn't that Ocean Pine, didn't this already issue the storm pipe in the road? Didn't all that's Ocean Pines? I mean, you wanted the county, but what?
Again, you're I don't want this to sound, apparently it didn't sound as nice earlier, and it wasn't the intent. We're working the issue. We've got to be careful. We have a lot of, especially with the flooding issues. Flooding's huge, and it's a horrible impact on our community. But we're also built to withstand 2 inches of rain in 24 hours. That's what our system was designed to handle. We often get more rain than that. We all know that. I have requests for a lot of things when it comes to flooding. The board can certainly say, yeah, let's spend the money to do it. I try to get all the reasonable information I can from any resource I can, say if it's not only meaningful, you think it'll work. When Eddie looked at it, he felt this could be a potential solution, but we're also working with our county officials to get their input on it. It's a large pipe. It's not a small project to cross St. Martin's Lane the way that you're recommending that we do. And Eddie did look at, you know that. I gave you a copy of the plan of what he drew up.
I mean, it's the same amount, it's just a little bit different size pipe.
Correct.
But it's in a different direction. Well, I have two 18 inches going under, and you're saying a 30 to maybe 50 going across the street. So it's still the same diameter of water going to be moving, only this time it actually will be moving instead of backing up in our yards. Because across from us, there's a 36, fix all the water. The 36 down on White Horse, which is 136 under a driveway, and it takes all the water, and it's still got 35% capacity that can take more water. And it's only a 36-inch pipe there. So, we're asking for the same amount of water to be going that direction, except we're trying to take the 290s out and we have an elevation problem with the 290s.
Yeah, just a curiosity question. We told county for their advice, but not for their permission or their money or their...
No, we're not sure yet. We're going to talk with a recommendation from their roads engineers. The pipe we're looking at putting in is significant in size compared to what's there. Even though there's two, there's a number of things happening. That's a low area. Mr. Mason's right. It's a basin area, and it's worsened by the two 90-degree turns, which causes the backflow, which backs up to their properties. What happens by putting that diagonal pipe in, you're relieving those 90s to get that water flowing. Again, big project. there's going to be a significant expense for a project of that size, and we will need to block off the road for a period of time to do that, or bore under, or whatever has to be done. So yes, we are seeking some additional advice on
So
this.
that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
It's an advice thing, not a,
Again, we're trying to get, it's great when homeowners, and especially folks who are living it, and certainly Mr. Paget with the engineering background can come in with valid expectations and reasoning, but I always double check it. You all know that. I'm trying to get some additional advice on this. And if it'll work, I mean, it appears it would, but I want to make sure it will before we even jump into that expense.
The question that went unanswered, it is our road, and it is our pipe, and it is our problem. We own the road.
Technically,
Not
we don't
technically.
own the
Well,
roads. We're
do maintenance to it.
We are required to maintain the roads. We do not own the roads. They're county roads.
That's not true, Bob. I'm not gonna let that lie. We
Okay.
do not own we do own the roads. Open up your budget book.
Okay.
we've given them a, what is it?
We've given them an easement only. That is a misstatement. It isn't true. We own the roads. They're private. We have eased public access, which we should end.
Mr. Mason, in either case, I'm looking into it. I'll try to get you an answer in the next 30 days or so. This is the worst time because the weather's, it's when we're getting the rain most frequently. So,
Well, I mean, we've been flooding for years, and
Yeah.
and like I said, we have two 18s. So 2 18s with excess. We also have an elevation problem. It's not
You
just the
do.
size of the pipe.
It-
If the
correct.
elevation was right, we wouldn't have the problem. But the problem stops because it gets into the 90s and it doesn't go across St. Martin's. From my driveway, from where the 90s are, to the other road,
The
the
answer to your
elevation is
question
wrong,
is-
so our pipes only get about 30% of water through them. So,
You're on the radar, you haven't been forgotten.
okay.
Okay, if that helps, because you really have not been. Obviously, we've been working it. I've been by there too since we first presented to the board. So you haven't been forgotten in the process. And
We just don't want to end up having to wait a couple of years to say something. But we know that
We agree.
there is a resolution to it.
We agree.
Can you hear me without that?
Yes.
Go on.
No.
I'll get bogged out.
Go ahead.
It's been a long time since I've been to a board meeting, and so I have some observations wherever they were.
Thank you for the record.
Name and address for
Name
the
and
record.
Going to the maintenance,
Name and address.
oh, I'm sorry,
That's where-
Norm Katz, 10 Holly Court.
There you go. Okay.
The argument for maintaining the ditches, I have a little experience on that, or some background anyway. And this goes back to when Dave Ferguson was the manager. Section 10, where I live, had some major problems. Not where I am specifically, some of the areas did. And what they did is they went into the ditches with GPSs. I don't know how that works. And they actually cleaned out the ditch and they pitched them again. Okay. And ever since then, by the way, they've been maintaining them extremely well. We've never had any problems since. So I think that the argument and the illustration that they showed for requiring some maintenance would really go a long way. Working backwards on how things were presented, also going back ages, I was on the Budget and Finance Committee, and at that time, the committee members took turns taking notes and actually being responsible for minutes of the meeting. Those minutes went to the board. The board read all of those minutes. In addition to that, I recall the liaison to each one of the committees also made a report to each of the board meetings. And I think everybody communicated extremely well at that point. So you might want to consider that. The other thing that I observed, I haven't been keeping track of what's been happening in the discussions on the maintenance of the bridges. But just listening to what's going on, I'm just wondering if you consider that we might be penny wise and pound foolish, and that maybe what we should consider is not repairing, but replace it, particularly in the case where I heard we're responsible for the cost for maintenance. However, if it's replaced, the county would be taking care of that. So I don't know if that's been looked into or not, but it's something worth mentioning, I thought. The other thing is an opinion. There was Bob talked about the trolleys that they're proposing, which sounds like a great idea. But the way I look at that, it's pretty much of a good convenience for people of the Pines, the rest of the area. However, the biggest beneficiaries of that are actually the businesses. And that's who it's for, the businesses. Okay? And I don't think Ocean Pines should be putting a penny into that. We're not a municipality, let the municipalities do that. Let the chambers of commerce do that. Let the businesses do that. We should not be putting any money into it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Old business, discussion of OPA bid contract practices. Marty?
For the sake of time, I'm going to reduce this to writing and email it out to you, because it's not that pressing. We've gone through this meeting and haven't addressed the bids that are in our package. When were we going to do that? I didn't see them on the agenda, but we had 2 bids.
We do have 2 bids. You know what? I should have done it in my GM report.
I'm going to give you my time.
Okay.
Someone track that. Did you see that?
I'll bill you for it. I give.
All right, Bob, go ahead.
All right. We have
We do
2
have 2 bids here.
We have 2 bids. I'm sorry.
They were in the bottom of the package.
Yeah, they were. I put them in the back. My mistake. We have. Let's start. The first one is the replacement of a vehicle. It's a budgeted item. We actually did the 3 bids. You can see the 3. This is our bids that came in. You should have. I'm hoping you each have a copy of these in your package.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, towards the back.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. We're recommending the Pittsville bid. It's the lowest bid, same piece of equipment. Just need board approval to.
So moved.
Well, I have a question. And it's only.
Sorry, I have a
This-
motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, now discussion. Go right ahead.
This is vehicle 6753, which is in the budget for 32,000, right?
Correct. But let me make sure I point something out. This is for the vehicle. It's a police vehicle, so we still have to put lights and computer and those things in it. So your price when we the police package to fit it out is between $4,000 and $5,000, which puts it closer to 30. We're still a couple grand under what we had budgeted for.
What happens to 6753? Do we sell it, auction it, give it to the fire department?
Don't have it off top. The one we're replacing?
Yeah.
We typically auction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll take it down a little bit.
It will. Every vehicle, we clean it, take everything out of it, all the police markings off it, and we auction it.
Ray will buy it.
I got one.
All right, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next.
Okay, this is also a budgeted item. You notice I'm pointing those out since you gave me your time. I thought I'd make sure I point out they're budgeted.
If you did not ask.
I know. This is significantly under, I think the budget item was 35, if I'm not mistaken. And Marty, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I was unable to look it up because I have no idea what this is.
Oh, I'm sorry. The micro system is the computer system at the yacht club and also at the beach club. There are upgrades periodically that need to be done. As the system starts to age, parts start to fail. So what we did this year was look at, instead of just upgrading that system, we also went to another competing system, and that's the second one that we have in here, the DBS, what they could offer for us. And we compared the pricing on them, compared what the offerings, and they're very similar in the offerings. But Micros was very, very engaged with us, and they had actually reduced their pricing to to a point where we feel that they're actually treating us well on this. They've reduced a number of the pieces have reduced through this process, and we're recommending that. The question I have for you all is, may I move forward with the budget item that's less than what was budgeted? And we're upgrading the equipment.
Yeah, I would make a motion to accept that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, discussion.
We're buying equipment for the yacht club that we're looking at over there right now. Will this stuff move to reduce?
It will move,
Okay.
yes.
Does this cover one of the places where we don't have the microsystem, as I understand it, is in the country club, which we occasionally use? Is there a way to bring them under the same umbrella, or is it worthwhile even thinking about that? Right now, they're not.
Should be
I
in
don't know,
that.
I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
Yeah, we've actually looked with them with the Beach Club, because Beach Club
Yeah, I
is
know.
quite a scaled down one. I can certainly look at that. I'm not sure, let me talk to the folks at the country club to find out what their use may be, because their setups, I'm thinking about the kitchen, the way it's set up with Turns Grill there, and then upstairs, if there's a real need for it or not. But let me talk with the folks there and find out.
I know what happens, particularly upstairs, Bob, is that there is a huge service log jam right there at the bar where people are trying to ring things up, and that's where they ring everything up.
Gotcha.
And the reason
Okay.
we went to the micro system was because it got the orders down to the kitchen in a processable fashion, and it made the billing a lot cleaner so that we could actually do split checks and things
Sure.
like that. Couldn't do any of that before, so.
But I guess there, it's going to just be an upgrade of the few, I think they have 3 units?
There's one in the Turns Grill. I think there are only 2. I think there's one in the Turns Grill and one at the bar. And it may not be a huge addition in money to do that.
I will certainly follow up before that's an easy phone call and have them come take a look at it for us. We'll find out what the age of it is.
Thank you.
Question.
So do we hold back on this, or do we?
I would like to keep moving, but I need to get this ordered because I want to get it in as quickly. I mean, it's going to roll to the right budget year, but it takes a little while to get them in and get them programmed. And part of our training process with it is anytime you upgrade the software part of it, you have a training issue.
Mr. President, I would suggest that we approve this as presented, and if the addendum cost is within the general manager's spending limit,
Okay.
You amended that, second agrees?
I'll agree. I was,
Okay.
yeah. But I have a question. Is this going to be, so with the servers at the table, is there a laptop they're taking this on? I'm not sure what I'm reading here.
Yeah, no, the primary focus of this bid that you're looking at, and it's not that one, it's the micros we're recommending, okay, is upgrading, it's due for an upgrade. Now, there is one unit here, one handheld unit, that we're looking at where they can take orders from, it's an iPad type of unit, that they can take orders and feed it right to it for the folks outside taking orders.
So you're recommending the micros.
Correct. It's the less, you know.
It is
it's
less
much cheaper.
expensive, but what I thought the ability of the other one was letting you know when the tables are becoming available and all that kind of stuff. I thought it was pretty impressive.
Micros does the same thing.
Does it?
The
Okay.
reason we gave more detail with the digital dining one is that we had not had them before, so they had to spell out every step of the way so we can compare what we currently have. The micros is a one-page upgrading. We already know what we're
You know
getting
what-
because we're
okay.
using them.
So then we're looking at a number significantly less than what we had budgeted.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, gotcha. All right. I must
Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Marty.
Pleasure's mine.
Okay, Dan, you have 2
Yes, I do.
second readings and motion.
Well, I'm not going to bore anybody with second readings on these things. I'm assuming that everybody heard the first reading or has taken the time to go to the website and take a look at these 2 issues. I'm going to take them one at a time. First motion that the Board of Directors approve the amendments to Resolution M-06 as first read on March 27, 2013. And I said and reread at this meeting. I'm obviously not rereading them. As they were submitted, the amendments to be effective immediately, i.e. today.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion?
Yes, yes, I'm sorry. I really did. I believe that there is in the amendments to the resolution, I believe something was omitted, which could be added without going to first reading or anything else, and relatively easily. And it could just perhaps avoid a future question or problem. I'm specifically talking about item 2, which is amend paragraph 4C. I'm specifically talking about the last item, which is delete subparagraph 4C3 in its entirety. Now, there's a good reason for doing that. However, if you look at the reading before that, and we're talking about proxies now, 4C2, the recommended 4C2, says proxies when included in voting packages shall comply with section 3.03, that's fine. Proxies used for various voting on issues, including in the meeting notice, shall be directed proxies. Only those proxy forms approved by a vote of the board of directors are valid, and that's fine. But there were 2 proxies that are used, and the one which is sent out for every meeting, I think we voted on that before, is the proxy to establish a quorum. So that goes out in the mail, got the proxy to establish a quorum. Now, if you read this, the 4C2, basically it doesn't really address the quorum proxy, I'll just call it. And, however, it does say proxy, so it, by definition, sort of includes that. Actually, it doesn't because it's not used for a voting issue. So what I'm suggesting, basically, is that we could add a sentence, and we don't even have to add an entire sentence. And basically, it says in the attachment A in 4C, the paragraph that it recommends deleting, the subparagraph 4C3, says proxy forms, I suggest that it say proxy forms for the purposes of establishing a quorum, once approved by the board of directors, do not require reapproval for subsequent elections. Otherwise, basically, we come back every year and approve this proxy form.
I think the question that would be, Dan, that I would ask you in conjunction with Dave's comments is, was it removed because it does not specifically have to do with the election committee?
May I, Tom?
Sure,
I can
whoever
answer
answers,
it.
I don't care.
I can answer it quickly. The original form, which was a sentence which was deleted, said, proxy forms for the purposes of establishing a quorum may be obtained at the association office. Well, we took that out because we can't do that anymore. We're going to mail them out. Right. And we're also going to mail them out, and they're going to be basically one of the same form. I mean, there's no reason for changing the form. It's just to establish a form. The same form gets mailed out every year. So I'm just suggesting that we amend this amendment to the following amendment.
What's the impact?
Well, interestingly enough, what they suggested doing was deleting, so this is on the attachments.
Right.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't have a copy of it in front of you, the attachment is election materials, and it says the committee with the secretary shall prepare election materials. This includes, but is not limited to, yada, yada, yada. C3, establishing what other materials finished shall be included in the voting package, and it says, it has 2 paragraphs on proxy. We have, what they've done in the amendment that they're suggesting is saying what David is suggesting that we don't want to do, and that is, they're saying take out references to proxies. Proxy forms for the establishment of a quorum may be obtained at the association office. Delete that. renumber the subparagraphs 4C4 through 4C6 to make them work. But to say only those proxy forms approved by vote of the board of directors are valid. And the reason for going to that modification, as I understand it, as opposed to approving one proxy form but having others out there, is included in our charter as we amended it today, which is that, in fact, property owners in good standing, if so advised by the board, can vote on issues that appear on the annual meeting agenda by proxy.
Yes, they can.
They can. And this is saying that, okay, guys, there's more than one possible proxy form out there, so we're going to clean it all up. You tell us what you want in the way of proxy forms, and you approve them. We'll write them up and send them to the board for approval. But you approve them. Now, Dave's saying something that's smart, and that's that we always will probably be sending out a proxy form that says this proxy is a directed proxy for quorum only. In other words, you send this back in, it just says.
So if we add this back in, what Dave's suggesting is we basically just made a continuum every year. That's already been pre-approved.
It's been pre-approved.
That's
That has
fine.
been pre-approved.
I don't see any problem.
I don't have any problem with the language, I mean, at all. I mean, it's fine with me. If that's what the board wants to do, then we need a motion to amend their
But if
recommendation.
any reason the board wants to change it for that particular year, then they could.
They could.
Yeah.
All right. You've made an amendment. Do you have a second on Dave's motion?
Yeah, I'll say.
And I have a question. Is this going to trigger the reading?
No.
Okay.
I have to admit that I asked the advice of our bylaws and resolutions.
That's why I looked
Who
in that
happened-
direction.
happened to
We're not, I'm not reading this
Answer is
legally.
no. All right,
We're
No
good.
offense.
I'm going to call the question on this motion as amended. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
All right, the second one is a little cleaner and easier. The motion is that the Board of Directors rescind Resolution C-07, Comprehensive Plan Committee, as effective May 20, 2009, in its entirety, and replace it with Resolution C-07, Comprehensive Plan Committee, draft dated 2/13/2013, as corrected at the first reading on March 27, 2003, specifically paragraph 3 sub A, line 4, correction of us, US, to use, USC. This action to be effective April 24, 2013.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
All right. From a discussion standpoint, the impact of this is the revised resolution more clearly defines both the functions and the role of the Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee, which were vague to a large degree in the original resolution.
Have a comment? Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Thank you. Mr. Clark, motion to investigate ways and means of monetizing the words OPA boat ramps.
Yeah, I'm going to move that the Board of Directors request our general manager to investigate and report back to us at our next regular meeting on the usage of our two boat launching sites. The goal of this task is to try to eliminate any free usage by anyone who is not a member in good standing of Ocean Pines Association, Inc., or without having explicit permission from the association.
I'll read your discussion.
I'm waiting for a second. When there's sense discussing it,
I'll
I'll
second.
get a second.
Okay. Fair enough.
You got a second?
Okay, I mean, it's right there. I mean, we don't have any clue who's using those ramps. I mean, I've got a good feel for it because I spent some time hanging around and asking and poking and looking. And there's a lot of outside use. Now, there's been an argument made, and I hear it all the time. Well, the county says it's a county ramp. It ain't a county ramp. It's private property, and it should be treated as such. Or we, you know,
Took White Horse Park.
Yeah,
Well, no, you're talking.
but I'm talking about both ramps. The other ramp,
Mumford's Landing.
And Mumford,
too.
yeah.
and Mumford's getting used by outsiders too. I mean, the other day I was over there were 2 contractors putting boats in the water. Neither boat going to Ocean Pines. I asked, one of them was going up to Fenwick, it was being delivered from North Bay Marina. I said, wait a minute, why would you drive all the way down here? The guy looked me in the eye and said, it's free.
Comment, Mr. President?
Yeah, I have one too, as you go ahead.
I don't disagree with Mr. Clark. I think that we should be very much looking at this issue. The only disagreement I have, Marty, with you is the time frame that you're looking at, which is right now doesn't really represent the heaviest usage of these ramps. I would really like to see us take it out to the end of June instead of the end of May.
Whatever the general manager thinks, but I can tell you right now, it's the heaviest use in the year of the ramps.
Now,
Right now, people are loading, there's 6, 7 boats a day coming into our marina.
The other comment I would have simply, Bob, to you on this one is, what is the impact of only charging folks who are not members of Ocean Pines in the sense of our friends from the IRS? What is the impact of that? I don't know the answer to that question, but it's
We are charging Ocean Pines.
well, I
Just
would
wrote you a
agree
check
we
for
are,
yourself.
but, we'd have to make sure we do. I'm sure we are indirectly, but having gone through the beach club parking lot issue, I just want to make sure we don't pass by that little issue. Any other comments?
Yes, and Marty's last comment, the automatic gate at Bayside Marina at Fenwick generates a substantial amount of revenue for the business. Do we have any idea what kind of money we're talking about versus cost of the gate?
It's funny. Tom would mention the IRS. Atkins owns that marina, and he said he would no more tell me how much cash he takes out of that thing than Tripper would tell
Okay,
me how
but in
many
other
quarters
words,
are on the boardwalk.
there's a cost per gate.
Or the cost of the gate.
There's got to be a cost to install some equipment. Do we have any idea what any of this stuff is?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know that that's going to be Bob's recommendation. I think.
All right, well, your comment is there's a substantial amount of revenue, but we don't know if a substantial amount is $100 or $1,000 or $10,000.
6 figures. 1 ramp, 1 gate.
Your comment, are we
Net.
looking at adjusting this? There really isn't a date in the motion except for the next meeting.
Man, can I ask a
Sure.
question?
If you need
I've got to
2,
carry
if
this
you need
into-
2 meetings.
Well, no.
I want to
I've got
get
a
it started.
couple comments and then a question for you. First, I have already been exploring this. Matter of fact, the new MAC committee chair and I had a long talk about it. I met with the boat club and had a long talk about it. So we've already got that information. My question, based on the motion, directors request GM to investigate and report back to us the usage. Are we recommending I hire staff to sit at the boat ramp and count the boats and where they're from? And is that, I just want to make sure I clarify, because I don't have staff that sits at the boat ramps, but if that's what the directors, if that's what you are directing me to do, I just need to understand that a little better. And then what time frames would
I
you like
wouldn't be
that?
opposed to us putting a kid over there for a couple hours on the busy days and with a clipboard and give him a cash box. Somebody comes in from Berlin's not a member, take $5, let him launch his boat.
No, that's not
No,
the
no,
issue.
that's not what he's
That's
saying.
not what he's
That's not what
asking,
he's
Marty.
saying.
What he's saying is, how do we perform the study?
I'm not the manager. I mean,
Maybe
I know
this
how I
is
would
something
do
the
it.
MAP committee could do.
I don't personally have any problem at all, Mr. Thompson, with you hiring somebody to go over there and sit there with a clipboard and do a survey, because I think that's about the only way you can come up with a solid answer.
Do you not think the MAC committee would do that?
That's an interesting.
They might, and that's a great suggestion.
The MAC committee might, it might be.
That's what I would ask the first one.
What I'm getting to is to answer Marty's question. The only bloody way to do it is going to be to physically put somebody on site
on the
with a
ground.
clipboard.
Are there
And
signs
watch
in
it
either
go.
ramp that say for Ocean Pines
They're there.
owners owning?
They're there.
They're there.
They're there.
Private.
Yeah.
But there's no restriction
Right.
on getting into the ramp.
Right.
We've had this discussion.
Yeah, oh, God, many times. Yeah, I know.
All right, reality is Bob is already looking into this, and this, to me, this basically just says at the next board meeting, we'd like to have a report.
Well, but all right,
So
please make sure we clarify, and I'm not trying to be difficult on this. The boat club, the MAC committee chair, at length, no one's in favor of doing this from their committee levels. Now, I can get the write-ups from them, but I did speak to them at length about it. I just want to make sure the board knows that before we either pay someone to sit down there or ask a MAC committee or boat club or whoever would volunteer to sit there. The feedback I have received, and there's some folks in the audience that were in the meetings can concur with me, they have no interest in this. Just because normally the board will have to say, have you spoken to a committee? What are the feedback? I'm giving you the preliminary feedback because I did ask the question. So if you want this done, certainly we'll do it, but there's going to be expense involved if the MAC committee, if they don't have volunteers. And then the second part, and I know it sounds odd, but I'm going to need time to accomplish this. And B, Mr. Clark, do you have any recommended hours you'd like to have someone posted to do it? I don't know when the high level of boat activity would necessarily be, and I don't want to give you a report that you go, well, you should have been there between these times. If you have any recommendations, that would be helpful.
Bob, I'm not fighting on this. I mean,
Oh, no, I'm
Friday
asking.
afternoon would be a good time. Saturday morning for a couple hours would be a great time. By the way, I talked to Frank Watkins and I also talked to Jim Rosenberg. Both of them, they're only, one of them didn't care one way or the other, and one of them only cared if we were going to charge them a fee. I mean, that's them, us, and Ocean Pines owner.
Oh, okay,
That
so in
was
other
the
words,
only
what you're
concern when I
saying,
talked to them.
this fee that you're suggesting will be for non-Ocean Pines residents to pay only, not
Yes,
for
it's
residents.
just what it says. People with good, that paid their dues, use the ramp for free.
Yeah, they can ID them. But I mean, why if the kid's going to be sitting there checking them, couldn't he have little stickers that you're not a member of Ocean Pines and the like? You can't put your boat in the water. It's $25 for the sticker, and here's this year's sticker. Bang, put it on there.
Agreed.
Let's not solve it here.
Yeah,
Mr.
okay.
President, may I ask? I
Yes.
do have a member in the audience who was at the meeting when this was discussed, just with your permission.
Sure.
Are you?
Go for it.
I'm Bob Averly. I live on 63 Wood Duck Drive. And been around since '92. And have used the boat ramp. Was involved in the MAC committee and the boat club when we enlarged the parking area down there and reorganized the traffic flow and put a second boat ramp in. And have been pretty involved in this thing. We actually did some surveys a number of years ago and to check to see what kind of traffic was coming in. There were people from Virginia, people from Connecticut, people from New York State, people from Delaware, people from all kinds of different states. There were people that were homeowners that lived in those states. There were people that were friends of the homeowners. There were people that were actually renting property. There were people that came in on a Saturday night or a Friday night. You put a sticker on, when are you going to put a sticker on? You can't put it on a trailer because contractors come in and use different trailers, and trailers from people who are guests coming down are coming down. It's a very difficult thing. And when we look, and you're going to need a gate at two different locations. Each location has two ramps, one at the yacht club and the other one. And as we looked at it more and more, we found really there were very few people that came in from other areas that weren't somehow connected with either servicing Ocean Pines people or being friends or guests or renters and so forth. If you look at it from a monetary standpoint, you may find it's counterproductive because you're going to have to put the gates in. You're going to have a system where you put stickers on or find some way to, I don't know how you go about it. It's difficult to organize that. It's just a difficult situation. I think you're going to have a lot of anger as the confusion results we've had chains across before, and people have actually busted the chain. So it's a hornet's nest when you get into it, and it's not as simple as it may seem. And I really question whether any money, you're going to get any money, but you're going to get some money. It may cost you more to maintain it. You're going to need police to be over there periodically. It just does not seem to be something that's rational to go ahead and do once you dig into it. And I didn't come to discuss this. I came to listen to the drainage situation, but I saw it on the agenda, and I just thought it might help if I
Bob,
cover
as a
some of it.
former board member, you were even talking about this years ago. I personally believe that there is no way that we can practically control who's using our ramps. And it's a simple matter of turn your back. If you dump the boat in order, at least maybe we'll get some gas money out of it. But I see no way that can be controlled.
And then vote against the motion. But the fact is, it's 100 times easier to come up with reasons to not do our fiduciary
We're
duty
not here to,
Okay.
than it is.
And,
I have a motion on the table.
yeah, and let me just say that, Marty's motion is to collect the information.
Yeah.
And
That's
more
all.
information isn't going to,
Right.
it might make the situation, might make it muddier, but it also could clarify what might be.
I only have two questions. One, Dan, your comment was that is this the right time and should we do the study for over like a 2-month period of time before we immediately want this by the next board meeting? Marty, are you willing to adjust this motion?
Of course I am. I'm just
to be-
putting a date in there so there's a date.
So we're talking about the June meeting at this point. The June meeting, okay.
Whatever's good for Bob. I mean, this is a busy time of the year for him.
Look,
You're already working it. so-
I'm hiring staff to do it, so it's a it's a non-budgeted request there, Mr. Clark. Just trying to throw it out there.
Well, all the extra money we're gonna make selling gas is,
Okay.
oh, never mind.
All right. Hold on. No. All right, I'm going to call the question on this one. All
You have
those in favor of this
Aye.
motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Well,
Since you were already doing
I-
it, but it
I
passed.
was
did you get that count?
I'm not opposed to it, but he's already doing it, so it is what it is. June meeting, we'll get the report.
Thank you.
CPI,
I'd like to respectfully withdraw this and hold it till next month, please.
Thank you.
May I make a comment?
This is a really great one. There's hours for the talking.
Actually,
tell you what, I think I know where you're going. I'd like to have,
yeah, I just wanted Bobby to read
yeah,
section 200.6.C.2. Start at the quote, compare it to the declaration restrictions, and then find me the end of the quote.
What are we talking about?
Just-
I've asked to withdraw it, so.
it's withdrawn, but I think that you and I talked about that before the meeting. I think it's worth showing.
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it this time.
Okay. All right, I've got some appointments.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a suggestion that unless somebody specifically has an objection to anybody of these 10 people that are on the list, that we take them as a group and vote on them rather than separately.
The problem with that, Ray, is that one of them is an appointment as a chairperson of the committee. The rest are appointments.
Okay, I'll take it.
All right, I will, let's take the chairperson.
Yeah.
Frank Watkins
Frank
as the chair of the Marine Activities Advisory Committee.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The rest of them on the list.
Is Ray anywhere on here?
No.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Media questions.
Charlene, she's out.
Charlene's in for the door. I guess not.
Mr. Chairman,
It's your job, Ray.
motion to adjourn.
Second, do I have a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.